Chapter 1447. Hearing this, the father and son looked at the projection in the hall. They were dumbfounded at the same time and fell to the ground. Not only were the yin father and son dumbfounded, but everyone who didn't think highly of Yi Hao was also dumbfounded. They looked at Yi Hao in disbelief. In the end, Old Man Gu was the first to react. He walked towards the alchemy room. Wu Wenyong and Bingyi followed closely behind. The others also reacted and followed closely behind. After everyone followed Old Man Gu to the alchemy room, the shock they received was far more shocking than what they saw on the projection. Above the alchemy room, there were 25 perfect grade 4 pills, shining with golden light. These 25 perfect grade 4 pills, without exception, were all perfect grade 4 pills. Old Man Gu couldn't believe it. He rubbed his eyes, but it was still the same. Hence, he came to Yi Hao and asked, "You made all these elixirs?" Yi Hao said in a deep voice, "That's right. I made all of them. Kid, you've really impressed me. Not only are the 25 elixirs not useless, but they're all perfect. Even I can't do this easily." Yi Hao analyzed with some doubts in his heart. It seems that the grade of a 4th grade pill should correspond to a Spirit Emperor pill. Old Man Gu looked at Yi Hao's doubtful eyes and laughed loudly. He hugged Yi Hao directly. Yi Hao was dumbfounded. He tried his best to avoid Old Man Gu's embrace, but the old man was too strong. He couldn't break free. At this moment, after seeing this scene, everyone hurriedly left with their tails between their legs. Wu Wenyong looked at the fleeing crowd and laughed. "Everyone, take care. I'll definitely go to your residences and ask for a cup of tea another day." Hearing this, everyone walked faster. Li Mi and the other 3 also quickly left the alchemy room. Bingyi looked around, but didn't see the despicable father and son. Hence, he asked, "Where's the yin father and son? The bet hasn't been fulfilled yet." "They ran away long ago," Wu Wenyong said indifferently. "With the yin father and son's character, this bet won't be so easy to get." "What bet?" Yi Hao, who had finally broken free from Old Master Gu's embrace, walked over and asked. Hence, Bingyi explained the entire situation to him. Yi Hao looked at Wu Wenyong and said, "Bring me along when you go to the Yin family to collect the bets." "Of course." Wu Wenyong patted Yi Hao's chest and smiled. "This time, it's all thanks to you. Our Wu clan has been in the limelight this time. I believe that before long, the entire Lishan city will know that our Wu clan has an extremely young 4th grade alchemist." At this moment, Old Master Gu walked over with a smile and said, "All right, this is not the place to chat. Come with me." Yi Hao paused for a moment and said, "Wait for me. I left something in the alchemy room." Then Yi Hao came to the alchemy room and opened the alchemy furnace. With a wave of his right hand, 25 perfect quality Spirit Emperor Realm pills flew out of the furnace and into his space ring one after another. After doing all this, Yi Hao left with Old Master Gu in satisfaction. The 3 of them followed Old Master Gu to the study. Old Master Gu stood in front of the desk and took out a brocade box and handed it to Yi Hao. Yi Hao opened it and found a waste token with the words 4th grade alchemist engraved on it. Beside the waste token was a green pill. Old Master Gu looked at Yi Hao's puzzled expression and said with a smile, "Yi Hao, congratulations on winning the alchemy conference." Ding dong. Congratulations to the host for completing the task of winning the alchemy conference. The reward is 2,000 mission tokens and a set of flying sword jade records. Yi Hao accepted the system's reward and asked Old Master Gu with the brocade box, "What is this?" "This waste token is the identity token of a 4th grade alchemist issued by the Danzong Empire. With it, no matter where you go, others will have to respect you because you have the Danzong Empire behind you. As for the green pill beside it, it is a 5th grade spirit pill. Take it at a critical moment, and it will have a miraculous effect on healing." Yi Hao took the brocade box and said respectfully, "Thank you, Old Master Gu." Old Master Gu patted Yi Hao on the shoulder and said, "It's nothing. The spirit pill is the reward of this conference. As for the identity of a 4th grade alchemist, you should have it. I believe that it won't be long before the world knows that the ancient demon realm has produced the youngest 4th grade alchemist in history." "Old Master Gu, You flatter me. I'm not flattering you. What I said is the truth. Old Master Gu straightened his expression and said with a serious face, Yi San Gao, I want to ask you something. Listen carefully. Yi Hao also straightened his expression and said seriously, Old Master Gu, please speak. Wu Wenyong and Bing Yi, who were standing at the side, also became serious. Old Master Gu said seriously, I have never accepted a disciple in my life. However, seeing that your talent is extraordinary and we hit it off quite well, I want to accept you as my disciple today. Do you agree? Yi Hao was caught off guard by this news and didn't know what to do. Sangao, what are you waiting for? Grandpa Gu wants to accept you as his disciple. Wu Wenyong was about to say a few more words when he was interrupted by Old Master Gu. Gu Sheng, don't like to bully others. Don't say anything and let him decide for himself. Yes, Grandpa Gu. Yi Hao fell into silence. He knew that Old Master Gu wanted to accept him as his disciple because he thought highly of him. If he had Old Master Gu as his master, it would be equivalent to having another backer. If it were any other alchemist, they would definitely agree with gratefully. Although there were many benefits to being Old Master Gu's disciple, he had the chaos system. Yi Hao, didn't need to be anyone's disciple. Therefore, he had already made a decision in his heart. Yi Hao looked at Old Master Gu and didn't know how to reject. I don't have such thoughts for now. Brother Yi Yu, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Do you know how many people want to be Grandpa Gu's disciple? If you miss this opportunity, it will be a huge loss. Wu Wenyong hurriedly said when he heard Xia Haoshuan's words. Ha! Old Master Gu didn't get angry when he heard Yi Hao's words. Instead, he laughed loudly. Ha! Good. Geniuses should have their own pride. Let's call each other brothers in the future. As your elder brother, I'll give you a gift for our first meeting. With that, a small alchemy furnace appeared in Old Master Gu's right hand. Yi Hao's face was full of awkwardness. Old Master Gu, after all, Old Master Gu was so old. It didn't seem too appropriate for them to call each other brothers. This is the heaven and earth bathing furnace. After you drip your blood on it, it can change its size according to the owner's will. As an alchemist, how can you not have a decent alchemy furnace? This is for you. You can bring it with you and refine pills at any time. Don't reject it. If you continue to reject me, I'll lose face. Old Master Gu said to Xia Haoshuan. When Yi Hao heard Old Master Gu's words, he accepted the heaven and earth bathing furnace helplessly and thanked him. Thank you, Old Master Gu. You're welcome. Try it and see if the furnace is to your liking. Okay. Yi Hao dripped a drop of blood into the heaven and earth bathing furnace. As soon as it entered, the drop of blood disappeared. Immediately after, Yi Hao felt that he had established an invisible connection with the furnace. Just as he thought this, the furnace in his hand suddenly enlarged and occupied the entire study room. Then, it shrunk again and became only the size of a fist. Chapter 1448. Yi Hao held a cauldron and said, I was just worrying about not having a cauldron to refine pills. This heaven and earth bathing cauldron is indeed awesome. Thank you for giving it to me. Ha! Little brother Yi, you're welcome. Old Man Gu smiled at Yi Hao. Wu Wenyong and Bing Yi were also very happy for Yi Hao. Yi Hao kept the cauldron and asked humbly, Old Man Gu, there's something I don't understand. Go ahead. I want to know if that 4th grade medicinal pill is a spiritual emperor level medicinal pill. Yi Hao directly asked the question in his heart. Old Man Gu looked at Yi Hao and asked a question that Wu Wenyong had asked before. Which empire are you from? Tianyuan Empire. No wonder. Old Man Gu said, looks like we have to inform the empire to speed up the establishment of a branch in Tianyuan Empire. We can't let a genius like you be neglected. Old Man Gu continued, Tianyuan Empire hasn't established a branch of the pill sect empire, so it's normal that you don't know the official classification of pills. In the past, pills were classified according to a cultivator's realm. For example, Spirit Heaven Realm pills, Spirit Emperor Realm pills, Spirit Emperor Realm pills, and so on. But in order to make it easier for people to differentiate and familiarize themselves with them, We divided the pills into 10 grades according to their effects. Therefore, Spirit Heaven Realm pills are called 3rd grade pills, Spirit Emperor Realm pills are called 4th grade pills, and so on. Yihao was puzzled. I see. Old Man Gu laughed and stroked his beard. I have a book on the basic knowledge of pills here. You can take a look. Yihao took the book and thanked him. Then, the 4 of them spent the rest of their time in the study. Lishan City, Ilu Alley. A hunched old servant hurried to Lishan City's most famous Ilu Alley. He looked at the private room on the 2nd floor and walked up, knocking on the door softly. Who is it? Why are you disturbing my mood? The old servant hurriedly said, Young master, it's me. Come in. Thus, the old servant pushed open the door. After entering, he immediately knelt on the ground with his head pressed against the ground. He didn't even dare to raise his head. Have you investigated the matter thoroughly? One of the rich men, who was holding a wine jug, asked lazily as he leaned back in his chair. Replying to young master, everything has been investigated thoroughly. Oh, tell me about it. The rich kid with 3 ancient swords on his back sat on the chair, sipping the tea in his hand with great interest. Yes, the old servant said respectfully. Then he said, Yi Sangao is indeed in this city. Not long ago, he went to an underground black market auction and bought a peerless woman. Oh, what kind of peerless woman? A rich man's son, who had pulled himself away from the women on the bed, walked over with a guqin placed beside the bed. The rich kid with the wine jug said impatiently, Second brother, don't say anything. Let him continue. However, they bought the peerless woman, but they had a conflict with a local tycoon family at the auction. After that, Yi Sangao killed all the guards of the tycoon family. Then, Lishan City held an auction today. Yi Sangao teamed up with a family with the surname Wu to humiliate the tycoon family. I think the tycoon family is in need of people. Got it. A rich kid with a jade ring on his finger sat up lazily from the bed. He covered the sleeping women with blankets and came to the old servant, saying softly, You mean, we can borrow the power of the tycoon family? That's right. The old servant lowered his head and stopped talking. Big brother, is there need to do this? That's right. It's just Yi Sangao. We'll know once we catch him and interrogate him. Big brother, what do you think? The rich kid with the jade ring looked at his 3 brothers and said, No matter what, we're still people of the Yuelun Empire. If we really do as you say, we'll definitely have a conflict with the local family. If word gets out, it won't be good for our Yuelun Lin family. Hearing this, the 3 rich kids fell into deep thought. The rich kid with the jade ring chuckled and said, Lead the way. We'll go and meet the tycoon. Then, the group left Ilio Alley and went to the Yin family's residence in the center of the city. Lishan City, Yin residence. At this moment, Yin Jinru was sitting in the main hall with an ashen face. Many people stood beside him, trembling in fear. There was his son, Yin Chiji, the housekeeper, and many guards and servants in the residence. The housekeeper secretly glanced at Yin Jinru's ugly face. In the end, he braced himself and said, Master, you can't. It's really inappropriate to attack the Wu residence now. Master, please reconsider. Although Yin Chiji was also afraid that Yin Jinru would suddenly fly into a rage, he still wanted the girl beside Yi Hao. Hence, he stood out and said, Father, Yi Sangao and Wu Wenyong made our Yin family lose face in this alchemist convention. If we don't do anything, I'm afraid the other families in Lishan City will look down on our Yin family. When the housekeeper heard Yin Chiji's words, his heart sank, and he silently retreated to the side. Yin Chiji saw that Yin Jinru's face was ashen, but he didn't show any signs of anger. Hence, he continued, Father, if we don't strike first, do we really have to wait for Wu Wenyong to come and take over all of our Yin family's properties? Impossible. Yin Jinru slammed the teacup on the table onto the ground and said in exasperation, Who does Wu Wenyong think he is? How dare he come to my Yin family and behave atrociously? After slamming the teacup onto the ground, Yin Jinru finally felt a little better. Hence, he waved his hand to signal the housekeeper and the others to leave, leaving only him and Yin Chiji. Yin Chiji's thigh, which was crippled by Yi Sangao, had already recovered after the treatment of elixirs. He walked quickly to Yin Jinru's side and whispered, "But after all, we lost the bet. If Wu and Yong and the others really come to our door, I'm afraid." Yin Jinru's face darkened, and he said solemnly, "You're right. We must strike first to gain the upper hand." Yin Shiji smiled softly and said, "Father, I've already arranged everything. Right now, Wu and Yong and the others are still at old Master Gu's place and haven't returned. We can kill our way into the Wu residence now and then lie in ambush there, waiting for them to come." Yin Jinru's eyes lit up. He touched his son's chubby face and said, "Hey, I didn't expect you to be so nimble. This is a good idea. Let's do it this way." "All right, then I'll give the order now." Yin Shiji had just taken 2 steps when he retreated. This was because 4 well-dressed, rich young men had barged in with a group of stooped old servants. The leader of the group, a rich young man, turned the jade thumb ring in his hand and said, "Master Yin really has a good plan. I wonder if you can bring us brothers along?" Chapter 1449. Yin Jinru, who was sitting on the tea chair, narrowed his eyes and looked at them with vigilance. Yin Chiji said fiercely, "Who are you? How dare you barge into my Yin residence? You're just a small family. Do you really think you're some big shot? Do you believe that I can destroy you right now?" The rich man with the wine pot sat on the ground and said casually. When Yin Chiji heard this, his face showed a touch of anger, but before he could get angry, at this moment, the housekeeper of the Yin residence clutched his chest and stumbled to his father's side, whispering something to him. Yin Jinru quickly stood up and smiled as he walked to the rich man with the jade ring. He asked, "May I ask where you are from? What are you doing here?" "What? Is this how the Yin family treats guests?" "My son is a guest. He's serving tea and offering a seat." "Father, this..." Yin Shiji's face was full of confusion. "Go quickly." Yin Jinru's tone had a hint of anger. He then said apologetically, "Young masters, my son is insensible. Please don't take it to heart." "We won't." Then the 4 rich men sat down, and the old servant stood behind them respectfully. The man with the jade ring looked at Yin Jinru's cautious face and said with a smile, "Let's introduce ourselves first. The 4 of us are from the Lin family of the Yuelun Empire. Some people call us the Lin family's 4 heroes. I'm Lin Sheng. The one with the guqin is Lin Dan. The one with the ancient sword is Lin Jin. The one with the wine pot is Lin Cho. So you're from the Lin family of the Yuelun Empire. Please forgive me for not going out to meet you." After Yin Jinru heard the identity of the visitors, he didn't dare to be arrogant and quickly apologized. The Lin family was an existence that could stand shoulder to shoulder with the royal family in the Yuelun Empire. Although he hadn't heard of these 4 people, the Lin family was definitely not someone that the Yin family of Lishan City could offend. "Master Yin, you don't have to be so polite. We're here to ask for a favor." Lin Sheng sat arrogantly on the main seat and said slowly, "What is it? Didn't you hear what I said just now?" Lin Jin pulled out the ancient sword from his back and played with it carefully. Yin Jinru instantly felt a biting cold enveloping his entire body. He replied, I heard. Lin Dan gently stroked the guqin in her hand and smiled. "Third brother, you've scared Patriarch Yin. Why don't you put away your broken thing?" "Humph." Lin Jin sheathed his sword and closed his eyes. Yin Jinru wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and asked doubtfully, "It is my honor to have several young masters go with me. However, I am somewhat puzzled. Can you tell me the reason?" Lin Sheng smiled faintly and said, "There's no harm in telling you. Right now, Yi Sangao, who is hiding in the Wu family, has some grudges with us. If we go to the Wu family directly and ask for him, I'm afraid the Wu family won't give him to us. That's why I came to discuss this matter with Master Yin." Yin Jinru understood. "I see. Young masters, Yi Sangao also has some grudges with the Yin family. We're willing to help you." Lin Sheng put down the teacup in his hand and stood up. He patted Yin Jinru's shoulder and said faintly, "You're wrong. It should be us helping the Yin family." Yin Jinru's body stiffened and he didn't dare to move. He waited until the Lin family's 4 heroes had left with their people before he let out a deep breath. Yin Qi, who was standing behind Yin Jinru, could clearly see that his father's clothes were soaked in cold sweat. He couldn't help but ask, "Father, who are these Lin family's four heroes? Why are you so serious? Remember, we can't offend the Lin family, much less those four people." "Why?" "Because if they want to, the entire Yin family will disappear from Lishan City." Yin Jinru snorted angrily, leaving Yin Qi standing there in a daze. It was already late. Yi Hao and the other two bid farewell to old Master Gu and returned home. Along the way, Wu Wenyong looked enviously at the waist token on Yi Hao's waist. He wanted to take it and study it a few times, but he was beaten back by Bing Yi's cold gaze. Wu Wenyong looked at Bing Yi with some resentment and said, "You're not married yet. Why are you protecting your own man? What nonsense are you talking about?" Yi Hao and Bing Yi said in unison. Wu Wenyong laughed. "Oh, you speak in sync. No wonder Grandpa Gu said you're a match made in heaven." "Wu Wenyong, if you talk nonsense again, I won't forgive you." Bing Yi threatened. Come on. Do you think I'm afraid of a weak woman like you?" Wu Wenyong retorted. "Can you stop arguing?" Yi Hao couldn't stand Wu Wenyong's despicable look. The three of them talked and laughed along the way to the Wu family's gate. At the gate, Yi Hao suddenly stopped. Wu Wenyong and Bing Yi didn't understand and asked, "What's wrong? We're already at the gate. Why aren't we leaving?" Yi Hao was stunned. He thought for a while and said, "Nothing. Let's go in." Just as the three of them entered the Wu estate, two stooped old men suddenly appeared at the entrance. They quietly walked in and closed the vermilion door of the Wu estate. Yi Hao and the other two passed through the front yard and walked towards the backyard. Yi Hao looked at the empty backyard and asked curiously, "Didn't you ask people to increase the security when you left? Why didn't we see anyone from the front yard?" "Yeah, what's going on?" Bing Yi was also very confused. Wu Wenyong also put away his despicable look and looked serious. He had a bad feeling and said hurriedly, "Oh no, something must have happened. No, I have to go and take a look." After saying that, Wu Wenyong went straight to the corner of the backyard. Yi Hao and Bing Yi followed closely behind. Wu Wenyong came to the room where his father lived and found that there were no guards at the door. He gently pushed the door open and tiptoed in. After entering the room, Wu Wenyong vaguely saw a figure through the curtains of the bed. He said, "Father?" No one responded. The room was still silent. Wu Wenyong wiped the sweat from his right palm. A dagger appeared in his hand, and he gently pulled open the curtains. Before he could take a closer look, a skinny palm went straight for his face. Wu Wenyong subconsciously raised his arm to block. Boom! Wu Wenyong was directly thrown out of the room. At this moment, Yi Hao and Bing Yi arrived and helped Wu Wenyong up from the ground. Then, many stooped old servants and some guards appeared around them. Wu Wenyong looked at these uninvited guests who suddenly appeared in his house and asked in a deep voice, "You are from the Yin family. Where is Yin Jinru? Ask him to come out and see me." Suddenly, the crowd outside opened up a path. Then, four rich people in luxurious clothes, an elegant man with white hair, and a fatty who weighed more than 100 pounds appeared in front of them. Chapter 1450. Yin Jinru, where's my father? What did you do to him? Wu Wenyong roared angrily when he saw the Yin father and son. Yin Jinru didn't say anything. Lin Sheng, who was wearing a jade ring, looked at the three of them and asked, "Which one of you is Yi Sangao?" Yi Hao took a step forward and carefully observed the expressions of the Yin father and son. He said, "Yin Jinru, from the looks of it, you didn't invite these people, right? You're Yi Sangao. That's me. Who are you?" "Very good. Take him down." Lin Sheng waved his hand. Two old servants walked forward and pounced on Yi Hao. Bing Yi stood in front of Yi Hao, protecting him. She looked at the two old servants coldly. "Oh, what a pretty girl. Is this a scene of a beauty protecting a hero?" Lin Dan, who was hugging her zither, looked at Bing Yi with sparkling eyes and said flirtatiously. Yi Hao pulled Bing Yi behind him. Then, he grabbed the furious Wu Wenyong and asked coldly, "Who are you? I don't think I know you. Also, where did you hide Wu Wenyong's father?" You don't know us, but I'm sure you know Linning, right? Linning, Yi Hao was stunned. He asked, "You're from the Lin family of Yueluan?" Now, Yi Hao finally knew who these people in front of him were. "So, you killed Linning?" Lin Sheng waved his hand and asked the old servants to leave. "That's right." Yi Hao nodded and didn't deny it. "Then, do you know that Linning is from the Lin family of Yueluan? Even if he's the son of a lowly concubine, he's not someone you can kill as you wish. Moreover, you ruined our plan. So, you have to come with us today. What if I don't? That's not up to you." Lin Jin, who had 3 ancient swords on his back, pulled out a slender ancient sword and stabbed it at Yi Hao. Yi Hao waved his right hand, and a fiery red sword appeared in his hand. He tiptoed and met the attack head-on. The two of them clashed. Lin Jin retreated dozens of steps, while Yi Hao did not move at all. Yi Hao brandished his sword and pointed at Lin Sheng. "Hand over the head of the Wu clan, and I'll spare your lives." Interesting. Lin Sheng led everyone to the side, leaving the stage to the 3 heroes of the Lin family and Yi Hao. Bing Yi also silently pulled Wu Wenyong back. Lin Jin, who had returned with a sword, stood in front of Yi Hao. Lin Dan and Lin Chou, who were holding a guqin and a jug of wine, stood on his left and right. Lin Jin pulled out another ancient sword of the same length and held it in his hand. Then he bit the last ancient sword in his mouth and said in a low voice, "I said, even if you broke through to the 3rd-level Spirit Emperor, you still don't have the strength to challenge us. It's not too late to beg for mercy." Lin Dan sat cross-legged and opened the cloth bag on his back. He placed the zither in front of his chest and said, "That's right. If you give me that beautiful little girl beside you, I can consider sparing your life." Burp. Lin Chou burped and said somewhat drunkenly, "Why are you talking so much to him? Just cripple him and take him away." After saying that, the aura of the 3 5th-level Spirit Emperors soared to the sky. Yi Hao held the Wu Dao sword tightly, his face a little serious. Wu Wenyong and Bing Yi, who were behind him, were very worried. Wu Wenyong did not expect that there would be 3 5th-level Spirit Emperors among these people. Bing Yi, who was beside him, held a jade pendant in her hand with some hesitation. Her face was uncertain. "You're just a 5th-level Spirit Emperor. You want me to beg for mercy? You're dreaming." Yi Hao laughed loudly. He waved his long sword, and 2 fire phoenixes with burning flames slowly rose from behind him and went straight for Lin Jin. Lin Jin laughed and said in a low voice, "Third sword flowing cloud cut." Then, one after another, the sword light with Gang Chi went straight for the fire phoenix's phantoms. At the same time, Lin Dan's zither played slightly, suppressing Yi Hao's cultivation. Lin Chou held a wine pot in his hand and staggered in front of Yi Hao. He threw out a powerful punch, and at the same time, his other fist also set off a terrifying force, ready to fight Yi Hao in close combat. At this time, in the backyard of the Wu family, a tall and powerful man was shuttling through the rooms, as if he was looking for something. Suddenly, 2 beams of light shot out from his eyes and went straight to a dilapidated house not far away. The guards at the door of the dilapidated house only saw a tall black shadow flash in front of them. Then, they saw nothing and fell straight to the ground. The people in the room heard the noise and hurriedly ran out, but they did not know that what awaited them was death. After the tall and mighty man dealt with all the guards, he found an unconscious old man who was as thin as a match on the bed in the room. The moment the tall and powerful man saw the old man, the corners of his mouth curled up, revealing a brilliant smile. In the backyard, Yi Hao fought with Lin Jin for dozens of rounds with grand sword moves, but there was no clear winner. Lin Sheng's expression couldn't help but darken when he saw this. After all, Lin Dan and Lin Chou were assisting from the side. Even so, Lin Jin still couldn't take down Yi Hao. One could imagine just how terrifying Yi Hao's strength was. Yan Jinru stood to the side and wanted to remind him, but he was afraid of angering Lin Sheng, so he kept quiet. His son, Yan Qiji, stood calmly in the same place. But under this calmness, there was a trace of deep unwillingness. This was because he had long regarded Bing Yi as his woman. Now, Someone wanted to snatch her away from him, but he was no match for this person. How could he be willing to accept this? But even if he was unwilling, he could only hide it deeply. He did not forget his father's words. Yi Hao pushed Lin Jin away with his sword and took Lin Chao's palm head-on, waving his left hand. Lin Dan's face turned cold, and she shouted angrily, "It's just a small trick. What can you do to me?" Lin Dan's palm slammed heavily on the ground. The guqin flipped up, its back facing the flying sword. Dong dong dong. Yi Hao's palm landed on the back of the guqin. Lin Dan flipped the guqin back and mocked, "I advise you to stop struggling. You're no match for me." Yi Hao smiled disdainfully. "Oh, is that so?" Suddenly, a cold glint appeared in Lin Dan's eyes. "Oh no!" Lin Dan exclaimed, directly using the guqin in her hand to block. The weapon in Yi Hao's hand suddenly flew out, slashing across the strings of the guqin, and finally returned to Yi Hao's hand. Yi Hao said disdainfully, "You're carrying a broken guqin everywhere you go. You really think you're a performer?" Hearing this, Lin Dan looked at the guqin with 4 broken strings and flew into a rage. "Good," Lin Sheng said. "I really underestimated you. But I won't waste any more time. All of you kneel down. Otherwise, old Master Wu will die. Chapter 1451. Lin Sheng saw that the battle was in a stalemate, and Yi Hao seemed to be getting braver as he fought. Hence, he listened to Yin Jinru's suggestion and brought out his trump card, Old Master Wu. Originally, when they joined forces with Yin Jinru to attack the Wu family, they wanted to kill the unconscious old man who was lying on the sickbed. However, Yin Jinru dissuaded them, saying that it was more useful to keep him alive than to kill him. Now it seemed that it was true. Lin Sheng clapped his hands and said, "Go, bring that old man here." Yes. An old servant received the order and left immediately. At this moment, Lin Dan and his 2 brothers all returned behind Lin Sheng. Lin Sheng looked at Yi Hao and the other 2 with a smile and said, "What? Did you not take my words to heart? I said, kneel down, or I will immediately order people to kill old Master Wu." "You despicable." Bing, he was so angry that her face turned green. Just as she was about to crush the jade pendant in her hand, she heard the sound of someone kneeling down. Turning her head, she saw Wu Wenyong kneeling on the ground with a twisted face. His eyes were filled with anger and helplessness. Seeing this, Bing Yi silently put away the jade pendant. "Haha, that's more like it. That's right. You're quite sensible, kid. However, some people are still unwilling to cooperate. I think those people don't want old Master Wu to live." Mocking laughter rang out from behind Lin Sheng. The Lin's 4 heroes were also smiling as they looked at Yi Hao, who had a dark expression and was silent. Yi Hao sighed helplessly. Dragging the long sword in his hand, he walked to Wu Wenyong's side. Bing Yi looked at him, not knowing what to do. Clearly, she didn't expect the other party to use such a despicable method. Yi Hao gave her a look, telling her not to worry. Then, he patted Wu Wenyong's shoulder and said, "You know that even if we all put down our weapons and kneel down, they won't let us go." The tears in Wu Wenyong's eyes fell. He choked and said, "I know, but if I don't kneel, my father will die immediately." Yi Hao squatted down and patted Wu Wenyong's shoulder. He squeezed out a smile and said, "Wu Wenyong, I was right about you." Wu Wenyong didn't dare to raise his head to meet Yi Hao's eyes. He only choked and said, "Third high, I don't blame anyone for the Wu family's predicament today. However, I can't implicate you in Bing Yi. Later, find a chance to slip away. I will cover for you." "Are you kidding me? Half of the people here are here for me. Besides, I still owe you money. If something really happens to you, who am I going to look for to pay the money?" But no buts. Yi Hao stood up and faced the Lin's 4 heroes, Yin Jinru and the others. Under everyone's gaze, his body slowly leaned down. "Ha, that's right. That's how it should be. That's right. Kneel down. Since you've offended the Lin clan, you won't be able to escape." If you knew this would happen, you wouldn't have done it in the first place. Even if it's a dog of our Lin clan, you can't kill it as you please. Trash. Lin Sheng and the others laughed mockingly again. Wu Wenyong looked up in disbelief at Yi Hao, who was slowly leaning down. However, what Wu Wenyong didn't notice was that Yi Hao took out an array flag and placed it in his hand. Bing Yi's gaze was complicated. In the end, he sighed and slowly leaned down. Lin Sheng looked at Yi Hao, who was kneeling on one knee, and said, "Trash, you're trash. Hurry up and kneel down. Kneel down with both knees." Yi Hao's lips curled up, and he smiled evilly. "Huh, who said I'm going to kneel? Ghost Array, Blue Moon." After that, Yi Hao directly inserted the array flag in his hand into the ground. Then, with Yi Hao as the center, a huge spiritual array spread out and enveloped everyone present. Luckily, he was bored these days and learned a few arrays. It was just nice to use them now. This is... Lin Sheng looked at the huge full moon above his head and was a little confused. Then he saw the old servant and the guard behind him take out their weapons and start fighting. He couldn't help but wake up quickly and said, "Oh no, it's a ghost array. Use your spiritual energy to protect yourself and stay awake." Hearing this, the three heroes of the Lin family, Yin Jinru, and some guard beside him quickly woke up. Yin Jinru looked at Yin Qiji, who was smiling at him foolishly, and slapped him directly. Yin Qiji suddenly woke up and looked at his father blankly. Yin Jinru didn't want to explain too much. He asked, "Young master, why don't I see Yi Sangao and the others? Do they run away?" "They can't run away," Lin Sheng explained. "Although this ghost array is very confusing, the eye of the array is the person who set it up. If the person who set it up leaves, the array will automatically be undone. Now that the full moon is in the sky and the array hasn't dissipated, it means that Yi Sangao and the others must be in this array." Then, could Wu Wenyong and the others have run away? Lin Sheng didn't answer. Instead, he shouted to the surroundings, "I didn't expect you to be able to set up a ghost array. However, don't think that I don't know where you are if you don't speak. If you don't come out, I will let people slowly cripple old Master Wu's limbs until you appear." On the other side of the array, Wu Wenyong and Bingyi were stunned. They saw a lot of fog suddenly appear in the courtyard, and then they couldn't see Lin Sheng and the others. Yi Hao explained to the two, "Don't worry, this is the array I set up. They won't be able to find us for a while." Wu Wenyong and Bingyi were relieved. But then Lin Sheng's words made Wu Wenyong's heart hang in the air. "Brother Sangao, I want to save my father. Tell me where they are, and I will go find them." Yi Hao didn't speak. Instead, he stood up straight. "I will count to 3. If you don't show up, I will cripple one of Old Master's hands. 1. Brother Sangao, you can't leave him in the lurch." Wu Wenyong anxiously grabbed Yi Hao's shoulder. 2. Yi Sangao, didn't you hear? He wants to chop off my father's hand. My father has a hidden disease and can't take it. 3. Do it. Before Lin Sheng finished speaking, Yi Hao waved his hand and said in a deep voice, "Do it? Lin family, you think you can threaten me? Don't overestimate yourself. Where is little Overlord Zhou Tong?" "Little Overlord Zhou Tong is here." Suddenly, a long spear flashing with green light flew down from the sky and stabbed into the ground, creating a huge crater. At the end of the long spear stood a tall and mighty man. The man was carrying an unconscious old man who was as thin as firewood. The long spear landed on the ground. The dust and fog dispersed. Yi Hao, Lin Sheng, and the others met again. The mighty man jumped down from the long spear and handed the old man to the shocked Wu Wenyong. He pulled out the flowing green spear from the ground and stared at Lin Sheng and the others. He said coldly, "With me, Zhou Tong here, don't even think about hurting my master." Then the aura of a 6th-level spirit emperor soared into the sky. Chapter 1452. Lin Sheng and the others' faces froze. A 6th-level spirit emperor. Where did this guy come from? How could Yi Sangao have such a powerful person by his side? Why wasn't there any news before? Wu Wenyong looked at the skinny old man in his arms and could no longer hold back his tears. Bingyi was the first to stand up from the ground. He came to Yi Hao's side and asked coldly, "So you weren't going to kneel? Then why didn't you tell me?" Yi Hao laughed and said, "How could I kneel to such a despicable person? But I didn't expect you to be even more straightforward than me and kneel down directly." "You!" Bingy angrily raised his fist and punched Yi Hao's shoulder. Wu Wenyong stopped crying and put his unconscious father aside. He came to Yi Hao's side and was about to kneel again when Yi Hao stopped him. "You don't have to do this between us. We are brothers, aren't we?" Wu Wenyong's eyes were wet again, and he smiled. "That's right, we are brothers." Yi Hao patted his shoulder and said, "Don't worry, we won't die today. After all, we still have to go to the Yin clan to collect the debt." "Okay," Wu Wenyong responded and stood to the side. Bingy looked at Zhou Tong, who was holding the flowing water-green heavy spear, and asked in confusion, "Who is this person?" Yi Hao looked at Zhou Tong and thought back to when he first entered the Wu Manor. At that time, he felt that something was wrong in the Wu Manor. So, he used a general summoning token rewarded by the system to summon a general and let him wait outside the Wu Manor in case of any accidents. To be honest, he didn't expect that the general he summoned this time was the 87th hero of Liangshan in the water margin, Zhou Tong, nicknamed Sky Star. Because Zhou Tong's appearance was similar to the overlord of Western Shu, Xiangyu, people called him Little Overlord. After learning that Wu Wenyong's father had been imprisoned by Lin Sheng and the others, he had sent a sound transmission to Zhou Tong, asking him to rescue Old Man Wu. That was why he had the confidence to not kneel to a despicable and shameless villain like Lin Sheng. Yi Hao explained the whole story, and Bingy and Wu Wenyong finally understood. At the same time, the two of them began to suspect Yi Hao's identity. After all, a 6th-level Spirit Emperor bodyguard was not rare. Yi Hao's identity must not be simple to have such a powerful bodyguard by his side. Yi Hao held his sword with one hand and looked at the solemn expressions of Lin Sheng and the others. He laughed and said, "How about it? Do you still want me to kneel down now?" Finished speaking, Zhou Tong's aura was fully displayed. Some of the guards with lower cultivation could not withstand Zhou Tong's tyrannical aura and directly knelt on the ground with a plop. Even with the Yin father and son stature, they were still somewhat unable to bear it at this moment. They looked somewhat hesitantly at Lin Sheng, who had not made a move all this while. Lin Dan, who was holding his zither, thought for a moment and said, "Big brother, Yi Sangao is already not easy to deal with. Now that there is another 6th-level Spirit Emperor, I'm afraid." "That's right, big brother. Why don't we retreat first?" Although Lin Cho was holding a jug of wine, he was not drunk at all. Instead, he was very sober. Although Lin Jin, who was holding his ancient sword, did not say anything, he silently agreed. After Lin Sheng thought for a while, he sighed and said, "Fine, we'll let him go for now. When we go to the Qing Mountain Imperial City and find Big Brother Lin, we'll take revenge on this brat." "That's good." The 3 heroes of the Lin clan all agreed. Lin Sheng took a deep breath and said loudly, "Yi Sangao, consider yourself lucky today. I'll let you live. When we meet again in the future, you won't be so lucky." "Young master, this." Yan Jinru heard that the 4 heroes of the Lin clan were about to leave, and his expression was somewhat flustered. He hurriedly said, "Young master, if we don't kill Yi Sangao today, then everything we've done today will have been in vain." Lin Sheng stared at him and sneered. "Heh, you're afraid that after we leave, Yi Sangao will come to settle the score with you. Please help, young master." Yan Jinru lowered his head and knelt in front of Lin Sheng. Lin Sheng was right. Yi Sangao was still somewhat afraid of the 4 heroes of the Lin clan, but once they left, based on what he had done today, the Yin clan would definitely die without a burial ground. Actually, this was not his fault because no one expected Yi Hao to have such a powerful trump card. Lin Sheng looked at Yan Jinru, who was kneeling on the ground, and said coldly, "This is between you and the Wu clan. What does it have to do with me?" After speaking, the 4 heroes of the Lin clan were about to leave. Yan Jinru hurriedly hugged Lin Sheng's leg and begged. Lin Cho, who was at the side, directly kicked Yan Jinru and said angrily, "A good dog doesn't block the way. Get lost." "Father!" Yan Qiji dragged his fat body and ran to Yan Jinru's side. Lin Sheng and the other three waved their sleeves and were about to leave with their people when suddenly a green shadow whizzed past them. The flowing water, green heavy spear, which was completely green, was quietly inserted not far in front of them. Lin Sheng turned his head and looked at Zhou Tong, who was waving his spear, and asked, "What is the meaning of this?" Zhou Tong silently retreated to the side. Yi Hao, who was holding the Wu Dao sword, walked forward and said with a smile, "I said, did I allow you to leave?" When these words came out, everyone was stunned. Lin Sheng was stunned at first, but then he reacted and scolded jokingly. "Who do you think you are to dare block our way? Let me tell you, the Lin clan of Full Moon Kingdom is not someone you can offend." "Yi Sangao, are you tired of living?" Lin Dan said coldly with his hands on the zither strings. The Lin clan of Full Moon Kingdom has a very high status, even in the entire ancient demon realm. I will forgive your ignorance this time. You can go and ask around, and then think about whether or not you're seeking your own death. Lin Cho threw the wine jug in his hand in front of Yi Hao and said word by word, "Get out of the way or die." Lin Jinru pulled out the three ancient swords that had just been sheathed. Yi Hao picked his ear impatiently and said, "So what if you are from the Lin clan of Full Moon Kingdom? If I was really afraid, how could I have killed Linning? If I was really afraid, shouldn't I hand over the sword in my hand with both hands and beg you to spare my life?" Lin Sheng grabbed the angry Lin Cho and said faintly, "I already said that Linning is just a trash born of a lowly servant, a lowly bastard. How can he be compared to the four of us? The four of us are of noble Lin clan blood. Linning can't compare. Aren't you all from the Lin clan? Where does your sense of superiority come from? You are courting death." Lin Sheng could no longer hold back his anger. He took off the jade ring on his finger and thrust his palm forward. Unfortunately, before his palm could touch Yi Hao, he was sent flying by a huge force. He smashed through several walls before stopping. "Big brother." Yi Hao looked at the remaining three heroes with a smile and said, "I said, if I don't let you go, you can't leave, even if you are from the Lin clan of Full Moon Kingdom. You are courting death, go." Hearing this, the hunchbacked old men behind them rushed towards Yi Hao and Lin Sheng. Chapter 1453. As the hunchbacked old man rushed forward, the three heroes of the Lin family frantically retreated and quickly left everyone's field of vision. Yi Hao sneered and ordered, "Zhou Tong, I'll leave this to you. Treat them well." "Yes." Zhou Tong waved his right hand, and the flowing water-green heavy spear whizzed back into his hand. With the spear in hand, Zhou Tong was like a god descending from heaven. With a sweep of the spear, no one was a match for him. Soon, the guards and hunchbacked old man that swarmed forward quietly lay in a pool of blood, unable to move. Only the trembling father and son of the Yin family were left hugging each other for warmth, trying to expel the coldness from their bodies. The three heroes of the Lin family frantically retreated and quickly found Lin Sheng coughing in a pile of rubble. Then the four brothers quickly walked through the backyard of the Wu family, but no matter how they walked, they couldn't get out of the backyard. "What's going on? Didn't we just come here? Why haven't we gotten out after so long? What's going on?" After going around in circles, it feels like we're back at the beginning. At this time, a young man with a red sword appeared in the corner of their eyes. The young man slowly walked in front of them and grinned. "Did you forget? You're still in my ghost boundary." Lin Sheng looked up at the full moon in the sky. They were indeed still in the ghost boundary. "What do you want?" Lin Sheng asked coldly, clutching his aching chest. Yi Hao shrugged and said, "I don't want anything. I just want to know why you want to kill me so badly. According to your tone, a mere Linning isn't worth it." "Why isn't it worth it?" Lin Cho stood out and said, "Even if Linning is a dog of the Lin family, you can't kill him as you wish. You have to pay the price." Yi Hao laughed and suddenly appeared in front of Lin Cho. He slapped him away and laughed. "No, you're not telling the truth." Lin Sheng led the two behind him and quickly retreated. After putting some distance between them, he said, "The 6th level Spirit Emperor isn't here. He's alone. Let's take him down together and escape." "Okay." Therefore, The Lin's 4 heroes took up 4 different positions and began to attack Yi Hao. Yi Hao smiled faintly. He held the Mai Dao sword and muttered, "That's good. I'll use you guys to test this sword technique that I just comprehended." On the other side, Bing Yi looked at Yi Hao's back and said worriedly, "San Gao went to chase after those 4 people. Will they be okay? After all, those 4 people are at the 5th level of the Spirit Emperor realm." "I won't." Holding the flowing water green deep spear, Zhou Tong tossed the Yin father and son in front of Wu Wenyong as if they were trash. In a low voice, he said, "Those 4 people have been scared out of their wits by me. Right now, they only want to end the battle as quickly as possible." Normally, Lord might not be a match for them, but now, that may not be the case. Zhou Tong looked at Bing Yi and the other man with a trace of worry and said, "Don't worry, the Lord is not far from us. If you really want to harm the Lord, you'll have to ask the spear in my hand for permission." Hearing this, Bing Yi and the other 2 finally relaxed. Wu Wenyong looked at the Yin father and son who were cowering and trembling at the side. The Yin father and son were as if struck by lightning. Yin Jiru hurriedly ran to Wu Wenyong's side and begged for mercy. Nephew, on the account that your father and I are sworn brothers, please let us go this time." "Yes, Brother Wu, we grew up together. Please let us go." Yin Qiji hurriedly ran over and tried to play the emotional card with Wu Wenyong. Wu Wenyong looked at them indifferently and said, "You still know that you are sworn brothers with my father. Then, doesn't your conscience hurt when you treat him like this? And you?" Wu Wenyong pointed at Yin Qiji and said angrily, "I, Wu Wenyong, have never had a brother like you who only knows how to backstab his own brother. Nephew, we were also forced to do so." "That's right, Brother Wu. If we didn't cooperate, those 4 people would kill our entire family. Wenyong, on the account of the past friendship between our families, let us go. We know we were wrong." The Yin father and son hugged Wu Wenyong's thigh and begged bitterly. Wu Wenyong looked at the 2 crying faces and his heart softened. Then, he said, "It's no use begging me. You have to ask Brother Yi first." The Yin father and son saw hope and hurriedly said, "It's okay. You have a good relationship with Yi Sangao. If you go and plead with him, he will definitely agree. As long as you let us go, we will agree to anything." "Really?" Yes. "Okay." Wu Wenyong agreed helplessly. Then, he looked at his unconscious father and thought, "Father, I've tried my best." In Wu Wenyong's heart, he would have a battle with the Yin family sooner or later. Moreover, he had been preparing for that battle for a long time and had raised many men of sacrifice. However, those men of sacrifice were currently outside the city and would only be taken out at the critical moment. However, he didn't expect that the arrival of the Lin family's 4 heroes would bring forward the critical moment. If it wasn't for Yi Sangao's help today, the one kneeling on the ground and begging for mercy would be Wu Wenyong. Thinking of this, Wu Wenyong felt even more grateful to the young man who was fighting fiercely at the moment. The 3rd move, Phoenix Movement. 3 fire phoenixes covered in flames soared into the sky and ran in 3 different directions. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for using the 3rd move of the Phoenix Dance of the 9 Heavens. The reward is a fragment of the Void Mirror. After Yi Hao used the Phoenix Movement, he rushed towards Lin Shou, who was the weakest. Lin Shou saw that Yi Hao abandoned the other 3 and rushed towards him and couldn't help but panic. After his 2 moves were neutralized by Yi Hao, he panicked. However, Yi Hao wouldn't give him time to recover. The Wu Dao sword in his hand glowed red, and the sword light shot out. When the 3 of them got rid of the fire phoenixes and arrived, Lin Shou was already covered in injuries. "Roar, get out of my way!" Lin Jin's 3 ancient swords came out and swung away Yi Hao's attack to save Lin Shou. The other 2 didn't stay idle and attacked Yi Hao from the front and back. Yi Hao didn't advance in the face of the 2's joint attack. Instead, he retreated and punched out a powerful punch that forced the heavily injured Lin Sheng to retreat. The Wu Dao sword in his right hand carried Yi Hao and suddenly appeared behind Lin Dan. The corner of Yi Hao's mouth rose. He held the Wu Dao sword in a reverse grip and forcefully stabbed backwards. Lin Dan, who reacted, hurriedly used his zither to block in front of him. The sharp Wu Dao sword easily pierced through his most trusted zither and then his body. Yi Hao turned around and pulled out his sword. With a swing of his sword, a large head was held in his hand. Ding dong! Congratulations to the host for killing a 5th-level Spirit Emperor. Congratulations to the host for gaining 350,000 experience points. Chapter 1454. Under the shocked gazes of Lin Sheng and the others, Yi Hao smiled and threw the head in his hand at their feet. Lin Sheng knelt down in tears, holding the head in his arms and blaming himself deeply. Lin Jin looked with some fear at the eerily smiling Yi Hao and murmured, "Demon, you are a demon." As the leader of the four, Lin Sheng suppressed his grief and anger and asked, "What do you want?" Yi Hao stabbed his sword into the ground and held it with both hands. "Didn't I say? I want to know why you want to kill me." Linning is a reason, but not an absolute reason. You want to know, right? Fine, but you have to agree to one condition. Speak. After I tell you, you let the 3 of us leave safely. Okay. Lin Sheng looked at him suspiciously and thought. He agreed so readily. Could it be a trap? Lin Jin choked out, "Big brother, second brother is dead." Lin Sheng glanced at Lin Cho, who was sitting on the ground in pain. He put on the jade ring he had been holding in his hand and said, "Fine, I will tell you. Back in the Earth Lung mountain range, was there a girl called Yi with you?" Yi Hao thought and asked, "You are looking for her?" "Yes." "Why?" Lin Sheng hesitated, not knowing if he should say it. Yi Hao sneered, pulled out his sword, and swung. "Ah!" Lin Cho lay on the ground and cried out in pain. His right arm had already rolled down to the ground from the air. "You!" Lin Sheng looked in shock at Yi Hao. Lin Jin was still repeating the same words. Yi Hao looked at him with amusement. "You are really rich children raised in a greenhouse. You don't know how cruel the world is. Do you think you have the right to talk terms with me now?" Lin Sheng looked at the tall figure behind Yi Hao, who kept approaching. He swallowed his saliva and said, "Okay, I'll tell you. That woman has something that belongs to our Lin family. We must get it back. It has to do with her master. You know this too. Go on, what is it?" "I don't know. Our mission is to capture that woman alive. As for what it is, we really don't know." Yi Hao stared at him coldly with his sword in hand. Lin Sheng immediately panicked and hurriedly said, "I really don't know. How could us juniors know about such confidential matters?" Yi Hao tried again, but the answer was still the same. He waved his sleeve and put away the ghost formation before saying, "I won't kill you, leave." Hearing this, Lin Sheng and Lin Jin hurriedly helped up Lin Cho, who was sitting on the ground, and ran into the distance. Yi Hao counted to 3 in his heart and said in a deep voice, "Zhou Tong." "Yes." Suddenly, a green spear pierced through the 3 men's hearts. The 3 men lay quietly in a pool of blood with their eyes wide open. Zhou Tong silently came to the side of the 3 and withdrew his spear. Yi Hao also came over. He looked at the 3 men's widened eyes and said to himself, "I promised to let you go, but Zhou Tong didn't. Let you go. Wait for you to bring people to kill me? Yuelo and Lin family, don't worry. I will definitely be there as a guest. You can go in peace." Yi Hao put away his sword and ordered Zhou Tong, "Clean up the scene. Come to my room at midnight. There are some things I need you to do." "Yes, Lord." Yi Hao walked out of the backyard and came to Wu Wenyong and Lin Yi's side. He stretched, seeing Yi Hao return safely. Bing Yi's hanging heart suddenly relaxed. She then asked, "Where are the 4 people?" "They ran away," Yi Hao said indifferently. "But you don't have to worry. They won't come looking for trouble again." "Thank you, Brother Sangao." Wu Wenyong cupped his hands towards Yi Hao. Yi Hao smiled and said, "Didn't I say that we are brothers? Why are you being so polite?" "Sangao, I have a favor to ask." "For them." Yi Hao pointed at the Yin father and son kneeling at the side and asked. "That's right." Wu Wenyong paused and then said, "They agreed to hand over all the Yin family's assets, leaving only one life. You really want to let these 2 people go? Did they betray your Wu family? Yin Jinru and my father were sworn brothers. Yin Chiji also grew up with me. In the end, I couldn't bear it. If my father was awake now, I believe he would support me. Fine. Yi Hao waved his hand and came to the yin father and son. He said, since you want to let them go, I won't say anything. I can promise to let you go. Thank you, Master Yi. Thank you, Master Yi. The yin father and son bowed their heads. Wait, don't thank me yet. You have to promise me one thing. What is it? The yin father and son asked hesitantly. Yi Hao smiled and said, it's very simple. Submit to me. This. Yin Qiji was a little hesitant. He wanted to live, but he wanted to live well. He didn't want to be someone's cow or horse. Yin Jinru quickly pulled his son aside and kowtowed. We, the yin father and son, are willing to submit to Master Yi. We only ask that Master Yi forgive us and spare us. Good. Raise your heads. Hearing this, the yin father and son raised their heads. Then 2 balls of earth fiend black chi entered their minds. What did you do to us? Yin Qiji looked at Yi Hao in horror and asked. Yi Hao smiled and then slapped Yin Qiji's fat face. Yin Qiji was sent flying and then fainted. Yin Jinru hurriedly lowered his head. His back was covered in cold sweat. Yi Hao squatted down and said with a smile, don't worry. As long as you don't betray me, this thing won't do you any harm. Also, if you do this again, you won't just be fainting. I know. Thank you, Master Yi. Yi Hao smiled. He seemed to have thought of something and said, oh right, there's one more thing I forgot to tell you. Please speak, Master. Tell your fat son to give up on Bingyi. If I find out again, you know what to do. Hearing this, Bingyi, who was standing aside, suddenly blushed. Yin Jinru's body trembled, and he said shakily, yes, I understand. Thank you for your reminder. Yi Hao stood up and escorted old Master Wu back to his room with Bingyi and Wu Wenyong. At the door of the room, Yi Hao said to Wu Wenyong, Brother Wu, I've already let them go. I hope you won't regret it. I won't. Wu Wenyong leaned on the railing and said tiredly, although it's not too much for them to die, and I have thought of letting them die, when I think of my childhood, I still can't bear it. Chapter 1455. Yi Hao also leaned on the railing and said, I'm going to let your Wu family take over all of the Yin family's businesses. Then, I'll let the Yin father and son take care of the Wu family's businesses for you. I'll let your Wu family become the wealthiest family in the entire Mountain City. Wu Wenyong smiled and asked, why are you helping me? Yi Hao looked at the dark sky and said, there's no reason to help people. Reviving the family has always been your dream. Take this as a thank you for helping me at the auction. I only hope that when I'm in trouble in the future, there will be a few people by my side. Hearing this, Wu Wenyong, who was leaning on the railing, and Bingyi, who was standing at the side, fell into deep thought. Sangao, my good brother, where are you? Hearing this familiar voice, Yi Hao suddenly sat up and asked curiously, isn't this old Gu's voice? Old Gu came to Yi Hao's side and carefully looked at Sangao. He asked, good brother, how are you? Are you okay? I heard that Yin Jinru brought people to attack the Wu residents, so I immediately rushed over. This Yin Jinru is getting more and more unscrupulous. No, I can't let him off so easily this time. Yi Hao looked at old Master Gu's anxious expression and felt helpless. After all, being called a brother by such an old man still made him feel a little uncomfortable. However, it was rare for old Gu to be so concerned about him. He couldn't help but smile and said, old Gu, I'm fine. Aren't I fine? That's good, that's good. Where's that despicable Yin Jinru? I'm going to find him. Old Gu, no need to find him. It's all settled. Settled? How did you settle it? Quickly tell me. Then, old Master Gu took Yi Hao for a stroll in the backyard of the Wu residence. Looking at the 2 people's backs, Wu Wenyong and Bingyi awkwardly withdrew their hands. The 2 of them looked at each other and smiled. Then, they went back to their rooms to rest. At night, the waning moon hung high in the sky. Yi Hao pushed open the door with a tired face. After old Master Gu arrived, he pulled him aside and chatted for a long time, refusing to let him go no matter what. He had just sent old Master Gu off and almost missed the time. Yi Hao sat on the bed. Zhou Tong, who had been waiting for a long time, walked out from the corner and knelt on one knee, quietly listening to Yi Hao's orders. It wasn't until dawn that a black figure left the Wu estate. Following this, 3 more black figures left Lishan City and headed west. If they kept heading west, they would soon reach the Qingshan Empire's capital, the Qingshan Imperial City. In the following half a month, Yi Hao was in no hurry to leave Lishan City. While helping Wu Wenyong organize the Yin family's businesses in Lishan City, he sought out Old Gu to learn about alchemy. The rare calmness was mixed with a trace of enrichment. However, this half a month wasn't all good news. There was also bad news. The head of the Wu family, Wu Wenyong's father, had passed away. Facing this news, Yi Hao was half happy and half worried. He was worried that his father's death would be a huge blow to Wu Wenyong. Without a period of recuperation, it would be difficult for him to recover. He was happy that he could finally carry out his plan of dragging Wu Wenyong along to the Qingshan Imperial City. Yi Hao felt that there were still 2 months left. It was too boring to travel alone. Moreover, he was unfamiliar with the place and the people. At first, he wanted to drag Bingyi along. However, Bingyi was unwilling. He pestered her for a few days before she agreed. Then, he used the same method to deal with Wu Wenyong. However, Wu Wenyong was always thinking about his father and failed. Therefore, Yi Hao came to Wu Wenyong's room again today. Yi Hao had just entered. Before he could speak, Wu Wenyong said, "You don't have to say anything. I know what you're here for. I promise you that I'll accompany you to the Qingshan Imperial City. Don't worry. I've already handed over the follow-up matters. I'll leave this place to the Yin father and son. There won't be any problems." Sigh. Yi Hao sighed. He poured himself a cup of tea and said, "Have you really thought this through? You've lived here for more than a decade." Wu Wenyong smiled bitterly and said, "I originally stayed in the Wu clan because of my father. That's why I wanted to revive the clan. Now that my father is gone, I have nothing to miss here." As he spoke, Wu Wenyong leaned on the table and choked with sobs. Yi Hao silently sat to the side and fell into deep thought. Qingshan Empire, Immortal Cloud Pavilion, Yuan Mu's mansion. As usual, Yuan Mu drank the wine brought by exiled immortal and directly spat it out. The masked man in black came to Yuan Mu's side, while Mu Tao went out to see the guest out. Yuan Mu calmly asked, "How is it? Any news from there?" According to the report, Yi Hao has already arrived at Lishan City. "I know. Didn't he arrive a month ago? Is he still in Lishan City?" "Yes." Yuan Mu smiled and said, "I'm a bit curious. He actually stayed for a month. What did he do in Lishan City?" The man with the bronze mask said quickly, "He participated in an underground auction and bought a girl. Then, he had a conflict with the Yin family. Then, he helped the Wu family to win the alchemy competition. He seemed to have a special relationship with Gu Sheng. Then, he was ambushed by the Yin and Yuan Lin families. Gu Sheng, Yuan Lin clan. Interesting." Yuan Mu smiled and asked, "And then what happened?" "This I don't know." "You don't know? Why?" "Because we found out that we weren't the only ones watching him. There was another group of people. However, they didn't look like they were from the ancient demon realm. Also, they weren't watching him, but the woman next to him." When Yuan Mu heard that they weren't from the ancient demon realm, his expression suddenly became serious. He asked, "You said that there's another force besides us. Have you been discovered? Have you been discovered?" The masked man firmly replied, "No. What should we do now?" "Call everyone back first. It doesn't matter if they're watching him or the woman next to him. At least his life isn't in danger for now." "Yes." The masked man was about to hide in the darkness again. Yuan Mu stopped him. "Wait, investigate the background of the woman beside him." "Yes." Not long after the masked man left, Mu Tao angrily walked in. He walked over to Yuan Mu, who was lost in thought, and helped Yuan Mu back to his room. Yuan Mu, who was sitting on the bed, carefully recalled the conversation. Suddenly, he felt that the development of the situation was beyond their expectations. Yuan Mu clenched his right hand and murmured, "It seems things aren't that simple. I need to ask for instructions." Chapter 1456. 2 months later, three guests arrived at the foot of Green Mountain Empire's Green Mountain. Two men and one woman. The man on the left wore a light blue robe and held an ordinary folding fan in his hand. His peach blossom eyes were gazing at the towering, world-famous Green Mountain in a trance. The woman on the right wore a plain dress. Her exquisite appearance attracted the gazes of passers-by at the foot of the mountain. However, the woman's interest was not on the Green Mountain at all. Instead, she would occasionally stare at the young man beside her. The young man in the middle was even more handsome. He wore black clothes and looked at Green Mountain with his red eyes. "Wenyong, this is Green Mountain?" "That's right." The man holding the folding fan was none other than Wu Wenyong of Lishan City. Looking at the endless stream of people at the foot of the mountain, he said, "This is Green Mountain, and the royal city of Green Mountain, which has attracted the attention of all the people in the world, is built on this Green Mountain." "Isn't it just a city built on a mountain? What's there to see?" "Bing," he said in disdain. Along the way, Wu Wenyong was already used to being mocked by Bing Yi. He didn't mind and said, "That's because you haven't seen the magnificence and beauty of the Green Mountain Imperial City. You won't say that when you see it." "Bumpkin." Bing Yi rolled her eyes and said, "That's because you're ignorant. You definitely haven't seen a city floating in the air. It's much more magnificent than this Green Mountain Imperial City." "Is there really a city floating in the air without any support?" Yi Hao and Wu Wenyong looked at her doubtfully. "Of course there is. However, it's not here." After Bing Yi said that, her sparkling eyes suddenly dimmed. Yi Hao and Bing Yi were already used to this. After 2 months together, they had heard bits and pieces of Bing Yi's past. They could already feel that Bing Yi wasn't an ordinary person. However, in their hearts, Bing Yi was only their friend. They didn't care about her past or her identity. The capital of the Qingshan Empire, the Qingshan Imperial City, was built on top of the mountain. However, it wasn't a city built on top of a mountain like people had imagined. Instead, it used the 7 main peaks as pillars to build a huge city out of thin air. The energy supporting the operation of this huge city came from the spiritual sources buried under the 7 main peaks of Green Mountain. It was because of the constant supply of spiritual energy that the royal city of Green Mountain could stand at the top of Green Mountain, attracting the attention of everyone. Since the Heavenly Street meeting was about to take place, the number of people on Green Mountain increased by more than twice as much as usual. For this reason, the Qingshan Empire opened up 2 paths to the top of the mountain. Everyone could use the Qingyu Peak and Qingyin Peak to climb to the top of the mountain, then enter the Imperial City from the top of the mountain. The peak that Yi Hao and the other 2 climbed was the Green Jade Peak, one of the 7 main peaks of Green Mountain. The 3 of them entered the city after standing on top of the peak and enjoying the beautiful scenery of Green Mountain. The Green Mountain Imperial City was indeed the largest city in the Green Mountain Empire. Its prosperity was incomparable to that of Lishan City and New Tianyuan City. Among the 3 of them, Wu Wenyong was the only one who had been to the royal city of Green Mountain when he was a child. But he was too young to remember the layout and structure of the royal city clearly. As for the other 2, it was their first time here, so they were unfamiliar with the place and the people. Yi Hao suggested that they find a nearby inn and stay there for the time being. They should first find out where the registration for the Heavenly Street meeting was, and then make other plans. The 3 of them saw an inn on the street and walked in directly. They each asked for a room and went back to their own rooms to rest. In the past 2 months, Yi Hao had been receiving side tasks to improve himself, and Wu Wenyong and Bing Yi had been with him the whole time. Bing Yi had no cultivation and was weak, so she couldn't stand it. As a result, she fell asleep as soon as she lay down on the bed. Though Wu Wenyong had a cultivation, he didn't want to participate in this Heavenly Street meeting. He only wanted to accompany Yi Hao. He had made some progress after 2 months of hard work, but he was also exhausted, so he fell asleep early. Not long after Yi Hao lay down, there was a knock on the door. "Come in." Then, a waiter of the inn walked in. The waiter looked carefully at Yi Hao's appearance and asked, "Master, where are you from?" Yi Hao answered casually, "Country Emperor Yuan Tian, City Emperor Yuan Tian." The waiter hurriedly closed the door, knelt on the ground and said, "Greetings, young emperor. Get up." Yes. The waiter stood up and said, "Young emperor, don't worry. I have already informed the commander. He will be here soon." Got it. Yi Hao waved his hand and asked the waiter to leave first. Then he waved his arms, and 10 small flying swords flew out of his sleeves. Yi Hao took one of the flying swords and gently cut his finger. Then he dripped a drop of blood on each flying sword. After doing all this, Yi Hao quietly watched the 10 flying swords slowly return to normal. Then he put them away again. Feeding the swords with blood was something he learned from the Flying Sword Jade manual rewarded by the system. Using this method could greatly increase the strength of the flying swords. However, it needed to be fed once a day without interruption. Otherwise, all the previous efforts would be wasted. Although it was very troublesome, the effect was very obvious. Not long ago, he used these 10 flying swords to kill a 6th-level Spirit Emperor magical beast. Then, Yi Hao took out the universal bathing cauldron that Old Man Gu gave him. He closed his eyes and quietly activated the palm-sized cauldron to refine the medicinal herbs in the cauldron that had not been used up. Not long after, a golden level 4 perfect elixir flew into his hand. Yi Hao kept the elixir as a faint smile appeared on the corners of his mouth. In the past 2 months, although Yi Hao had been improving his cultivation, he did not fall behind in the cultivation of elixir. At first, Old Man Gu told him that as long as he continued to refine elixirs every day, with Yi Hao's talent, it would not take long for him to successfully refine level 5 elixirs. In fact, what Old Man Gu did not know was that it was even easier for him to improve his cultivation as an elixir master. As long as he continued to refine elixirs, he could gain elixir master experience points. It was only a matter of the number of breakthroughs. After refining the elixir, Yi Hao took out a spiritual stone and a flying sword. He kept carving arrays on the spiritual stone. Not long after, all 10 spiritual stones were engraved with arrays. After doing all this, Yi Hao let out a long breath. Flying sword, elixir refining, arrays, and swordsmanship. He had been practicing hard for the past 4 months. Compared to 2 months ago, he had made a qualitative leap. For this heavenly street convention, he could be said to have made full preparations. Suddenly, a figure flashed by Yi Hao's window. Then, a tall figure appeared in front of Yi Hao. The tall figure knelt on the low mountain and said in a deep voice, "Your subordinate greets the young emperor. Get up." Yi Hao waved his hand and asked, "You have been in the imperial city of Qingshan for a long time. How is the investigation going?" Hearing this, the tall figure raised his head. It was the little overlord Zhou Tong. Zhou Tong stood aside and said respectfully, "Young emperor, I have inquired about the matter you asked." Chapter 1457. Yi Hao sat on the bed and asked, "Okay, then let me ask you the first thing. Is there a Yuan clan in the Green Mountain Imperial City?" "Yes, this clan is located on the Blue Fallen Peak, one of the 7 main peaks of the Green Mountain Empire. The Immortal Cloud Pavilion, one of the 7 major powers of the Green Mountain Empire, belongs to the Yuan clan. Originally, the pavilion master of the Immortal Cloud Pavilion was Yuan Quan, but Yuan Quan suddenly died a while ago, so the young pavilion master, Yuan Shu, became the pavilion master. He is now the leader of a Yuan clan." Yi Hao thought for a while and asked, "Is that banished immortal one of Yuan Shu's people?" "Yes." Yi Hao murmured, "Blue Fallen Peak, Immortal Cloud Pavilion. It seems like they're not easy to deal with." "Young Emperor, that may not be the case." Zhou Tong continued to speak based on the information he had gathered. The Yuan family is not a monolithic entity. Although Yuan Shu has become the pavilion master, he is the son of a concubine and has never been favored by the elders in the pavilion. Those elders appear to be subservient to him, but in reality, they are secretly in contact with the eldest son of the Yuan family, Yuan Mu. Yuan Mu. Yes, Yuan Mu is the eldest son of the Yuan clan. Unfortunately, Yuan Mu suffers from an eye disease and has been blind since childhood. Therefore, he did not compete with Yuan Shu. However, I feel that this Yuan Mu can be used. Yi Hao thought for a while and said, "You are right, but the most important thing now is the Sky Street meeting. Let's put this aside for now. Do you have a clear understanding of the powers in the Green Mountain Imperial City?" "Yes, I do." Zhou Tong took out a map and explained, "There are 7 main peaks in the Green Mountain Imperial City, and, correspondingly, there are 7 major clans. Each clan guards a spirit vein. The only difference is that the Ling clan, the head of the 7 clans, should not be called a clan, but a royal clan. In the past, the 7 clans all followed the royal clan. However, in recent years, the Green Mountain Emperor's health has been deteriorating, and the other clans have started to become restless. Based on the current situation, there are roughly 3 powers. The royal clan that occupies the Green Mountain Peak is a faction. The Yuan clan, the Yu clan of the Green Jade Peak, and the Han clan of the Green Sound Peak. These 3 clans are one faction, and the Yuan clan is the leader. The other faction is the Qingtian Peak's Huangfu clan, Qingqing Peak's Qing clan, and Qinghao Peak's Hao clan. These 3 clans are led by the Qing clan, so the Qingshan Empire is showing signs of chaos. Yi Hao was puzzled. He had not expected the Qingshan Empire to be so chaotic. Perhaps it was not a bad thing for the Tianyuan Empire. Although on the surface the Green Mountain Emperor is suppressing the situation and there is no chaos, the various clans have already begun to have conflicts in secret. Once the Green Mountain Emperor passes away, the entire Green Mountain Empire will descend into chaos. I understand. Yi Hao heaved a sigh of relief and asked, "Continue to keep an eye on these things. If there are any problems, report to me at any time." Zhou Tong looked at the calm Yi Hao and felt that he was different from 2 months ago. However, he could not tell what was different, so he asked, "Young Emperor, the weakest cultivators participating in the Heavenly Street Convention are at the 6th level of the Spirit Emperor realm. There might even be 8th level Spirit Emperors. What is your current cultivation?" Yi Hao looked at him with a smile and said, "Take a guess." Then Yi Hao released his aura. Zhou Tong's expression changed, and he immediately knelt down. After Zhou Tong left, Yi Hao sat on the bed and thought quietly. Yuan Shu of the Celestial Cloud Pavilion wanted to kill him. Perhaps Yuan Mu was a breakthrough. Now that the Qingshan Empire was in chaos, he could make good use of it. However, no matter what, he could not meet them as Yi Sangao. If he wanted to meet them, he had to win the Heavenly Street Convention. He had to let them notice him. This way, he would have the opportunity to meet them and buy more time for the Tianyuan Empire to rise. After making up his mind, Yi Hao sat cross-legged and began to cultivate. After an uneventful night, early the next morning, Wu Wenyong excitedly came to Yi Hao's room with a booklet. "Sangao, let's go. Didn't you want to participate in the Heavenly Street Convention? I know where to sign up. I'll take you there." Wu Wenyong held the booklet in his hand and said excitedly. Yi Hao yawned and said tiredly, "What's that in your hand?" "This is the tour guide of the Qingshan Imperial City. Don't underestimate this booklet. Not only does it record the tour guide, it also records the registration address of the Heavenly Street Convention in the Qingyu District. It cost me 3,000 spirit coins. It's one of a kind." "Qingyu District? That's right," Wu Wenyong explained. "The Qingshan Imperial City is very large. Therefore, it is divided into 7 districts according to the main peak. We are in the Qingyu District. The people in charge of each district are the families that guard the main peak's spirit vein. If you have any problems, you can look for those families. The registration area is also there." "What are you talking about so early in the morning?" Bing Yi walked out of the room with an impatient expression. Wu Wenyong proudly showed off the Qingshan booklet that was worth 3,000 spirit coins. After the 3 of them had breakfast, they rushed to the largest family in the Qingshan district, the Yu family. Along the way, Yi Hao couldn't stop laughing when he saw Wu Wenyong's pale face. The Qingshan booklet that Wu Wenyong bought for 3,000 spirit coins in the morning was sold everywhere on the streets and alleys. It only cost 30 spirit coins. Wu Wenyong's face darkened as he tore the booklet in his hand into pieces. He said angrily, "Damn the waiter. He said there was only one shop. 3,000 spirit coins. So he was tricking me. Let's see how I'll deal with him when we get back. Your family is doing business. How could you be tricked like this? I'm impressed. We're here. Bing, he looked at the two long lines and said plainly. Yi Hao glanced at the two lines. One of the lines had fewer people, so it should be faster to queue up. Therefore, he walked over. Unexpectedly, just as the three of them stood still, an extremely arrogant voice sounded behind the three of them. Hey, is this where you were supposed to stand? Get out of my way. Yi Hao turned his head and saw a thin and ugly young man walking towards them with a group of servants. Yi Hao was puzzled. Aren't we all queuing to register? What's the difference? The young man burst into laughter when he heard that. Which trash empire are you from? Same as us? How can it be the same? Open your dog eyes and look carefully. At that moment, some people in front of Yi Hao looked at him with disdain. They quickly distanced themselves from Yi Hao. Meanwhile, the people in the other line were gloating. They were ready to watch a good show. Chapter 1458. Yi Hao glanced at the two groups of people and said calmly, Aren't they all queuing up to sign up? What's the difference? The somewhat ugly young man looked at Yi Hao as if he was looking at a fool. He laughed loudly and said, Are you really stupid or are you pretending to be stupid? Can't you see that the people in this group with fewer people are all rich and noble people? Look at the group with more people. They're all uncouth people like you. Do you deserve to stand here? When the people in the other group heard this, their eyes were filled with anger. They looked at the servants behind the man and suppressed their anger. Unexpectedly, the young man pointed at a man with a dusty face and scolded, What are you looking at? I'm talking about a bumpkin from a small place like you. Why don't you take a look at what you're wearing? How dare you sign up for the Heavenly Street Convention like this? You really don't know how to write the word shame. The dusty man was angry, but he didn't dare to say anything. Yi Hao found it funny and said, According to what you said, wouldn't the Heavenly Street Convention become a fashion show? Ha ha. The crowd burst into laughter. The ugly man's face turned red, and he shouted angrily, What are you laughing at? Shut up. Hearing this, the servants behind him all pulled out the sabers at their waists and looked coldly at the crowd. Everyone kept silent. The ugly man's cold eyes swept across the crowd. No one dared to look at him. Then he looked at Yi Hao and sneered. Didn't I tell you? Uncouth people like you from a third or fourth rank empire don't deserve to stand here. Get out of my way. Yi Hao didn't move at all. He said tit for tat, The Heavenly Street Convention determines heroes based on their strength, not their family background. If you're treated differently from the start of the registration, then what's the point of holding the convention? Yi Hao's words struck a chord with those cultivators of low status who had traveled thousands of kilometers to attend the meeting. Thus, all of them agreed with him. That's right. The Heavenly Street Convention determines heroes based on their strength. If it's really like what you said, then it's fine to not participate in the convention. That's right. This is a convention, not a fashion show. It shouldn't be like this. The ugly man shouted, What are you shouting for? You people don't deserve to stand here. Young Master Wu is right. These vulgar people don't deserve to stand here. Just looking at these people makes me feel dizzy and nauseous. I don't know which empire they are from. They have no manners at all. The smaller the place, the worse the education. Some people recognized the ugly man. They stood beside him and spoke in a strange tone. Then, the two groups of people suddenly got into a fighting stance. They kept pointing at each other's noses and cursing. It looked like they were about to fight. Inside the Yu residence, the Yu family's patriarch, Yu Yingluan, was sitting in the main hall receiving important guests. Suddenly, he heard the noise outside and frowned, asking, What happened outside? Why is it so noisy? A servant hurriedly ran over and said, Master, the people who are signing up outside seem to be fighting. What's going on? After that, the servant explained everything that had happened outside the door. Hearing this, the noble guest of the Yu residence frowned and asked, Then who is the troublemaker? The servant didn't know the person's name, so he gave a rough description of the troublemaker's appearance. The noble guest put down the teacup in his hand and said with a sinister smile, Patriarch Yu, that troublemaker is young Master Shu's guest. You should know what to do. Ying Wan was shocked when he heard this and quickly said, I know. Lord, you don't have to worry. Then Ying Wan waved his hand, and a young man standing beside him came to his side. Ying Wan whispered something in his ear. The young man nodded and respectfully left. Outside the door, the crowd was still arguing. At this time, a young man walked out of the Yu residence. When the somewhat ugly man saw him, he abandoned Yi Hao and quickly went forward and greeted, Oh, isn't this young Master Yu Sanjiang? Why did you come out personally? Yu Sanjiang looked at him with contempt and sneered, Wu Yong, if I didn't come out, I'm afraid you would bring people to tear down the door of my Yu residence. Wu Yong quickly smiled apologetically and said, Look at what young Master Yu is saying. How would I dare? Yu Sanjiang no longer looked at him and walked to the center of the crowd. Many people recognized Yu Sanjiang and hurriedly greeted him. This Yu Sanjiang was none other than the legitimate son of Qingyu Peak's Yu family. It was said that at such a young age, he was already a 7th-level spirit emperor. Moreover, he had a wide range of friends and connections. Although there were many hedonistic sons in the Qingyu district, the biggest hedonistic son was Yu Sanjiang. After all, the Yu family was one of the 7 great families. It could be said that in the Qingyu district, his Yu family was like a local tyrant. Yu Sanjiang ignored those people and walked straight to Yi Hao. At this time, Wu Yong ran over and said, Young Master Yu, it's him. It's this guy who is causing trouble. How am I causing trouble? Yi Hao asked with a smile. Wu Yong said, You're not standing where you should be standing and inciting others. If this isn't causing trouble, then what is? What's a place I should be standing? It's a place where a country bumpkin like you shouldn't be standing. Wu Yong was about to say something, but he was interrupted by Yu Sanjiang. Yu Sanjiang looked at Yi Hao and asked softly, May I ask if you are young Master Yi? Yi Hao was stunned and nodded. I am. Who are you? This one is Yu Sanjiang of Qingyu Peak's Yu family. Yu Sanjiang slightly cupped his hands. The surrounding people were all stunned. Why was young Master Yu so respectful to this guy? However, Yu Sanjiang's next words made Wu Yong and the others completely dumbfounded. Young Master Yi, my father invites you. What? The Yu family's patriarch had specially sent his own son to invite Yi Hao into the estate. What was going on? Who exactly was this Yi Hao? He was actually able to make the local tyrant of Qingyu district treat him with such respect. This was not only the thought of Wu Yong and the others, but also Yi Hao. Yi Hao returned the greeting, Thank you, young Master Yu. You're welcome. Then, Yu Sanjiang led the way, and Yi Hao and the others followed behind him. Yi Hao immediately asked, Young Master Yu, what about the queue? Yu Sanjiang waved his hand and smiled. Queue up as you please. It doesn't matter what family background you have. Feel free to do as you please. Yi Hao nodded and smiled. Then he asked, Young Master Yu, what about that rude person who spoke rudely just now? Wu Yong's heart skipped a beat when he heard this. Yu Sanjiang smiled faintly and said loudly, Wu Yong spoke rudely and disrespected the guests of the Yu residence. He will never be allowed to step into the Yu residence. Yi Hao laughed heartily and walked towards the Yu residence with Yu Sanjiang. Wu Yong froze in place, as if he was struck by lightning. If he was not allowed to step into the Yu residence, wouldn't that mean that he would not be able to register in the Qingyu district? He looked at Yi Hao's back view as hatred filled his eyes. Chapter 1459. The people around Wu Yong quickly distanced themselves from him, as if they weren't the ones who spoke up for Wu Yong just now. The rest of the people laughed out loud. On the way to the Yu residence, Wu Wenyong couldn't help but ask quietly, Do you know the head of the Yu family? Yi Hao said indifferently, I don't know him. Then why would he want to see you? How would I know? Wu Wenyong rolled his eyes and didn't say anything else. Bingy asked from the other side, Then the head of the Yu family knows you? I don't even know him. How would he know me? Then why did you still dare to go? What's there to be afraid of? We've already come this far. Do you think we could just leave? When Bingy heard Yi Hao's words, he wanted to punch him to death. Although Yi Hao didn't seem to care, he wasn't confused at all. Why would the head of the Yu family want to see a nobody like him? Could it be that his identity was exposed? Logically speaking, that shouldn't be the case. The Yu family shouldn't be so powerful. However, he didn't think too much about it. He would deal with whatever came his way. He would meet the head of the Yu family first. The Yu family was indeed the biggest family in the Qingyu district. Even their mansion was extraordinarily big and imposing. The four of them walked for a full hour before arriving at the Yu family's backyard in a quiet bamboo forest. Yu Sanjiang said softly, "We're here. Young Master Yi, you can go in directly." Hearing this, Yi Hao moved slightly. Wu Wenyong and Bing Yi hurriedly followed, but they didn't expect to be stopped by Yu Sanjiang. Yu Sanjiang looked at Wu Wenyong and Bing Yi and said, "I'm sorry, my father said that he only wants to see young Master Yi." Wu Wenyong was about to speak when Yi Hao stretched out his hand and said, "It's okay. Wait for me here." "Okay," Wu Wenyong replied softly. Bing Yi hurriedly said, "Be careful." Yi Hao nodded and then entered the bamboo forest. Not long after, he arrived at the depths of the bamboo forest. There was a stone tea table and a few benches in the depths of the bamboo forest. There was also a pot of tea and some snacks on the tea table. In front of Yi Hao, there was a figure with his back facing him. It looked like a middle-aged man. Yi Hao walked over and said softly, "Greetings to the head of the Yu family." Hearing this, the young man sized Yi. Yi Hao was shocked, but he did not show it. Instead, he smiled and said, "Patriarch, you must be joking. I'm Yi Sangao, not Yi Hao. 5th level Spirit Emperor. Thank you for your praise, Patriarch. You are from St. Yuing Wan put down the teacup in his hand and clapped his hands. "Okay, I've asked all my questions." Yi Hao was stunned. He asked, "Can I leave now?" Yuing Wan turned around and put his hand on Yi Hao's shoulder. Yi Hao felt pain in his shoulder. He was shocked and stared at Yuing Wan. Yuing Wan stared at Yi Hao's red eyes. He smiled and said, "Don't worry. I've asked all my questions. There's still someone who wants to ask you." Immediately after, a figure that Yi Hao was very familiar with appeared in the bamboo forest. Yuing Wan took back his hand and left laughing. Yi Hao looked at the familiar figure. Killing intent flashed in his eyes. He rubbed his aching shoulder and looked at the figure walking over slowly. "Long time no see, banished immortal." Banished immortal covered his mouth and laughed. He sat down and said, "Yes, long time no see. The last time we met, your cultivation wasn't as good as mine. I didn't expect that we'd be the same now. You've improved so fast." Yi Hao sat across from Banished Immortal. He asked coldly, "You want to see me?" "Yes." Then Banished Immortal said, "To be precise, it's our young master Shu who wants me to see you." "What's the matter?" Banished Immortal looked at Yi Hao's nervous expression. He smiled and said, "Don't be nervous. I won't kill you." Yi Hao sneered. "What a joke. Even if we fight, do you think you're my opponent? Don't tell me you want to kill someone in the Yu family. The Yu family patriarch is a half-step spirit emperor. Do you think you can leave safely after killing me? Even if you can, what about your two friends?" Yi Hao was shocked. He put away his killing intent and smiled. "Banished Immortal, you must be joking. We haven't seen each other for so long. Why are you talking about fighting and killing?" With that, Yi Hao took a cup of tea from Banished Immortal. The two were talking and laughing. If one didn't know the inside story, they would think they were good friends. After bragging for a while, Yi Hao asked, "Tell me, why does your young master want to see me?" "Simple. Submit to my young master." Yi Hao's hand that was pouring tea froze in midair. Banished Immortal continued, "Although your Tianyuan Empire has become a 4th-rank empire, you can't escape the fate of being a vassal. Why don't you submit to my young master? My young master can guarantee your Tianyuan Empire's safety." Yi Hao's expression was uncertain. He was secretly sizing up Banished Immortal. "Of course, I know your personality. You're very stubborn. However, this doesn't stop the half-step spirit monarch from being unhappy. He might accidentally kill the emperor of the Tianyuan Empire. If the emperor is gone, the Tianyuan Empire will be leaderless. It will be at the mercy of others." A deep sense of helplessness welled up in his heart. However, it was impossible for him to truly submit. However, he could still pretend to compromise. Yi Hao put down the teapot and said, "Since you want me to submit, I want to know how tempting young Master Shu's bargaining chip is." It's so refreshing to talk to smart people. Banished Immortal said, "You're a fifth-rank spirit monarch now. It's wishful thinking to win the Heavenly Street Conference." Submitting to Young Master Shu can help you win the Heavenly Street Conference. Oh, how can I win? You don't have to worry about that. It's Young Master Shu's business. Yi Hao tapped his fingers on the stone table. Weighing the pros and cons, Banished Immortal didn't disturb him. He sat on the side and watched him quietly. Okay, as long as Young Master Shu helps me win, I, Yi Hao, am willing to lead the entire Tianyuan Empire to submit. Very good. Banished Immortal looked at Yi Hao with admiration. Then Yi Hao got up and left. As soon as Yi Hao left, a young man walked out from the bamboo forest. Banished Immortal saw this and quickly walked over. Yuing Wan, who had returned, stood beside the young man respectfully. "Young master, everything is according to your orders." Yi Hao also agreed. The young man nodded and asked softly, "Is Yi Hao really a fifth-rank spirit monarch?" Yuing Luan replied respectfully, "He's a fifth-rank spirit monarch. I'm a half-step spirit monarch. If he's hiding something, he can't hide it from me." "That's not necessarily true." Yuing Luan thought for a moment and asked, "Do you want me to send someone to test him?" The young man stretched and said, "You don't need to test him. Isn't there a member of the Lin family in Yueluan Mountain? Let him test him for us." Chapter 1460. This, Yuing Luan looked troubled and said, "The Lin family has always been arrogant. Moreover, that Lin family member is only at the 8th level of the Spirit Emperor realm. I'm afraid that he won't help us." The young master didn't answer, but said to Banished Immortal, "Banished Immortal, I'll leave this matter to you. You must test his strength for me." Banished Immortal chuckled and replied, "Don't worry, master. Banished Immortal will complete this task and not disappoint you." Yuing Luan was still in a daze. Then Banished Immortal whispered something in his ear. Hearing this, Yuing Luan laughed. After Yi Hao walked out of the bamboo forest, he and Wu Wenyong were led by Yu Sanjiang to the registration area. Because Bingyi didn't have any cultivation, she didn't sign up. Wu Wenyong wasn't interested, so he didn't sign up either. Only Yi Hao signed up. His name was still Yi Sangao. The three walked out of the Yu residence. Bingyi noticed that Yi Sangao's clothes were soaked in sweat, so she asked, "What happened in the bamboo forest?" Yi Hao smiled faintly and said, "Nothing, I just met an old friend and chatted for a while." Bingyi saw that Yi Hao didn't say anything more, so she didn't ask anymore. Wu Wenyong came to Yi Hao and asked, "How is the Yu family's head?" "Very strong." This was Yi Hao's intuition. "What's his cultivation?" "Half-step spirit emperor." "Powerful." Wu Wenyong exclaimed, "There aren't many spirit emperors in the entire Qingshan Empire. This Yu family's head is actually a half-step spirit emperor." "Powerful." Yi Hao and Bingyi, who were talking intensely, didn't notice that Bingyi was rolling her eyes at them. Then, the three slowly walked to the inn where they were staying. There was a very famous and elegant place in Qingshan Mountain called Qingju Tower. At this moment, there was a very handsome and polite rich young master standing in the Qingju Tower. When the girl at the door saw the young master, she hurriedly ran to his side and rubbed her ample chest against the young master's body. She charmingly said, "Oh, isn't this young master you? You haven't been here for a while. Which young lady are you looking for this time?" It was Yu Sanjiang, young master Yu of the Yu family. He smiled and pushed aside the gorgeously dressed girls. He said apologetically, "I'm not here to seek pleasure today. I'm here to find someone. I'll have to trouble the older sisters to make way for me." As soon as Yu Sanjiang entered the Qingju building, he pushed away the customers who were blocking his way. When the guests saw such a reckless and rude rich kid, they couldn't help but be furious. However, when they saw the person's face clearly, they slapped themselves twice and then left dejectedly. Yu Sanjiang didn't care about these people's reactions. After entering the private room on the 2nd floor, he pushed open the doors one by one. Some of the people who were flirting with each other were shocked by this sudden push of the door. When they saw that it was Yu Sanjiang, they quickly shut their mouths. Some of the girls were not afraid at all and tried to seduce Yu Sanjiang. Yu Sanjiang rejected them one by one with a smile. After pushing open the 86th door, Yu Sanjiang finally found the person he was looking for in the private room on the 3rd floor. Yu Sanjiang looked at the pale, rich young master who was hugging a beauty on the bed and said with a smile, "Lin Lin, young master Lin, I'm sorry to disturb you." The pale, rich young master patted the beauty's plump buttocks and signaled for her to leave. The neatly dressed, rich young master sat on the bed and asked with a cold face, "What is the meaning of this, young master Yu? I don't think I've offended you. Why did you come to the Qingju Tower to make trouble for me?" Yu Sanjiang sat on the tea chair in the room and explained, "Young master Lin, you've misunderstood me. I'm not here to make trouble for you today." Lin Lin found it funny and said, "You ruined my business. How dare you say you're not here to make trouble for me?" Lin Lin waved his right hand, and the edgeless, heavy sword on the side of the bed appeared in his hand. He pointed at Yu Sanjiang and said, "Others are afraid of your Yu family, but I'm not. After all, the Lin family of Yuan is not to be trifled with." Yu Sanjiang walked to Lin Lin and said, "Young master Lin, I'll tell you the truth. I got the news that the guy who killed your 4 brothers in Lishan City has entered the city." Lin Lin waved his right hand, and a big hole appeared in the window. He looked at Yu Sanjiang and asked, "Is that true?" "Of course it's true. I, Yu Sanjiang, don't need to lie. Why are you telling me?" Yu Sanjiang looked troubled and said, "Fine, I'll just tell you. The situation in the Qingshan Empire is getting more and more chaotic. I'm doing this because I want to make friends with young Master Lin. If I have nowhere to go in the future, I hope young Master Lin can take me in and give me a place to stay." Then Yu Sanjiang handed Lin Lin a piece of paper with all the information of that person written on it. Lin Lin carried the edgeless heavy sword and walked to the door. He said in a deep voice, "Thank you. I'll remember this kindness." Then Lin Lin rushed out of the Qingju building. On the street not far from the inn, Yi Hao and the other 2 bought a stick of candied fruit each and started walking towards the inn. Wu Wenyong raised the snack in his hand and took a bite. He said in confusion, "This thing doesn't taste good. I don't understand why you guys like it so much." Yi Hao and Bingy looked at Wu Wenyong with disdain and then started to enjoy the sweetness of the snack. Suddenly, the wind that blew through the street stopped. Yi Hao threw away the snack in his hand and held Wu Wenyong and Bingy behind him to protect them. Wu Wenyong looked at Yi Hao's serious expression and realized that something was wrong. He asked, "What's wrong?" Yi Hao looked at the end of the street. A young man was carrying a huge, edgeless, heavy sword and was slowly approaching them. That person's killing intent was very strong. It was so strong that the surrounding wind stopped breathing and made way for him. Yi Hao held the sword with both hands and said, "I'll count to 3. You guys run." "Run? Run to where?" Wu Wenyong was anxious. "Run as far as you can." Bingy stared coldly at the figure at the end of the street and took out the jade pendant. 3. That figure placed the edgeless, heavy sword on the ground and dragged it. 2. That figure started to run. The friction between the heavy sword and the ground created many sparks. 1. That figure came in front of Yi Hao. He swung the heavy sword and brought out a majestic spiritual energy. Wu Wenyong and Bingy didn't have time to react. They only saw Yi Hao, who was holding Wu Wenyong's sword, smashing into the wall. Boom, boom, boom. Yi Hao, who went through 3 walls, finally stopped and climbed out a pile of rubble. Lin Lin, who was holding the heavy sword, glanced at Wu Wenyong and Bingy and then walked towards Yi Hao. Not far from the street, there was a tall building. On top of the building stood a man who liked to dress up as a woman. Chapter 1461. After Lin Lin left, Wu Wenyong sat down heavily on the ground and breathed heavily. He was so powerful that he couldn't even stand looking at him. This person's strength was really terrifying. He held the jade pendant tightly and stared at Yi Hao and Lin Lin not far away. After Yi Hao came out from the rubble, he knelt on one knee and asked with a smile, "Who are you? I don't think I know you. Who sent you?" Lin Lin dragged his heavy sword and walked over slowly. He answered calmly, I wasn't sent by anyone. I'm here to take your life. This is interesting. This is my first time in the imperial city of Green Mountain. What did I offend you? It seems that your memory is not very good. Let me help you recall. Then, Lin Lin swung his heavy sword. Yi Hao clenched his teeth and was about to take the blow. Suddenly, he thought of something and quickly dodged. Two Fire Phoenix Phantoms went straight for Lin Lin. Seeing the Fire Phoenix Phantoms coming, Lin Lin was overjoyed and shouted, Good! With a single slash of his sword, he shattered one of the Fire Phoenix Phantoms. Then, with a single punch, the other Fire Phoenix Phantoms disappeared as well. So powerful! Yi Hao looked at Lin Lin's terrifying strength and muttered, This person is at least in the 8th level of the spiritual emperor realm. Lin Lin looked at Yi Hao with a sneer and asked, Now, do you remember? Yi Hao didn't answer. He was hesitating. Then I'll be frank. I'm the Lin's 4 heroes of Lishan City. Yi Hao's pupils shrank. He said in a low voice, You're from the Lins of Yueluan City? Lin Lin laughed. You finally remember. Were you the one who killed my 4 brothers who were coming to the imperial city of Green Mountain to participate in the Heavenly Street Conference? How did you know I was here? Who told you? It's okay if you don't tell me. I'll beat you up later. Yi Hao's mind raced. He had just arrived at the imperial city yesterday, and today he had encountered an assassination attempt. Who had leaked the secret? Could it be? When he thought up to here, he raised his head and glanced at the surroundings. Although he didn't notice anything, he had already decided not to expose his true strength. Facing Lin Lin's powerful sword, Yi Hao, a 5th-level spirit emperor, could only retreat. However, once he retreated, he was unable to take another step forward and was continuously suppressed by Lin Lin. Not far away, Banished Immortal watched the fierce battle in the alley and murmured, It seems that Yi Hao's strength is indeed only at the 5th level of the Spirit Emperor realm. He didn't hide his cultivation at all. Lin Lin's sword didn't work, so he attacked again. Gradually, Yi Hao's body was covered in wounds, and his stamina had reached its limit. Yi Hao panted heavily and muttered to himself, Even if it's a test, there should be a limit. Why hasn't anyone come to save me yet? Could it be that this isn't a test? Lin Lin stabbed the heavy sword into the ground, formed a seal with both hands, and said in a deep voice, All right, the game of cat and mouse should be over. I'll send you to the Western Paradise, 10,000 swords without peaks. Rumble. Suddenly, the ground cracked, and then the edgeless heavy sword stabbed into the ground slowly rose into the air, and then split into 2 swords for swords, 8 swords. Slowly, more and more edgeless heavy swords spread out behind Lin Lin. Lin Lin looked at the battered and exhausted Yi Hao and said, Yi Sangao, go to hell. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Lin Lin waved his right hand, and 3 edgeless heavy swords directly attacked Yi Hao. Yi Hao didn't dodge and blocked all 3 swords. Do you think this is enough? It's not over yet. Then, the edgeless heavy swords behind Lin Lin rushed towards Yi Hao one after another, and Yi Hao was instantly drowned by the heavy swords. Banished Immortal, who was standing on a tall building, stretched and said, All right, let's stop here. If he really dies, it won't be good. Just as Banished Immortal was about to give the order, a small black appeared in the middle of the battlefield. Banished Immortal's pupils constricted, and he hurriedly said, What is that? At the same time, Yi Hao, who was enduring tens of thousands of attacks, opened his eyes with difficulty. When he saw the calm Bing Yi approaching him, he couldn't help but shout, Bing Yi, don't come over. Go back, Bing Yi, go back. Unfortunately, Bing Yi didn't move. Thus, Yi Hao shouted at Wu Wenyong, Wenyong, stop her. Don't let her come over, or she will die. Wu Wenyong, who reacted, hurriedly ran towards Bing Yi, but before he could touch her, he couldn't help but fly backwards and crash onto the ground. Yi Hao looked at the spiritual power that was slowly rising from Bing Yi's body and was shocked. Lin Lin saw a hindrance in his field of vision, so he waved his hands, and a few heavy swords flew towards Bing Yi. No! Yi Hao shouted, and his spiritual power was completely released. At this moment, Bing Yi's body underwent an earth-shattering change. Bing Yi raised her hand, and the jade pendant that she had been holding tightly shattered, scattering all over the ground. Then, two strange lights shot out from her calm eyes, and countless amounts of heaven and earth spirit energy rushed towards Bing Yi. The few heavy swords were completely crushed before they could even get close to Bing Yi. Lin Lin looked at Bing Yi in shock. He waved his hands, and all the huge swords attacked Bing Yi. Before Yi Hao could do anything, Bing Yi had already pushed out her palm, and tens of thousands of huge swords were crushed into powder under the immense spiritual power. Bing Yi stepped out and instantly appeared in front of Lin Lin. Lin Lin looked at her in horror, but Bing Yi didn't give him a chance to speak. She lifted him up with one hand and said coldly, "Anyone who wants to kill Yi San Gao must die." Then Bing Yi waved her left hand in the air, and a pitch-black hole appeared in the air. Her right hand threw Lin Lin into it. Yi Hao only heard Lin Lin scream, and then he disappeared. After doing all this, Bing Yi's vision turned black, and she was about to faint. Yi Hao, who was dragging his injured body, hurriedly ran over to catch the unconscious Bing Yi. Then, the alley returned to its peaceful state. At the same time, in a mountain range thousands of miles away from Qingshan Royal City, a group of masked people wearing red clothes looked in the direction of Qingshan Royal City at the same time. Then, all of them rushed towards Qingshan Royal City. Lishan City, at the door of a quiet room at the back of the underground auction. Oxhead and Horseface hurriedly knocked on the door. After getting permission, they hurriedly opened the door, knelt on the ground, and said, "Mister, this is bad. The princess's whereabouts have been exposed. I know. Prepare early. Someone is coming to take her home." Yes. Oxhead and Horseface left the room. The young but dignified voice finally let out a deep sigh. On the tall building, Banished Immortal looked in horror at Bing Yi, who suddenly released a huge amount of spiritual power, and said, What terrifying power is this? Why can't I feel Lin Lin's aura? Who is this mysterious woman?" Yi Hao carried the unconscious Bing Yi and hurriedly left the alley with Wu Wenyang. Chapter 1462. In the inn, Yi Hao looked at the unconscious Bing Yi, his eyes filled with worry. Bing Yi's brows were furrowed and her expression was cold. The spiritual energy in her body was in a mess, and there was no order to it. Yi Hao tried to channel his spiritual energy to help Bing Yi clear the spiritual energy in her body, but it was rejected without exception. Wu Wenyang stood at the side anxiously and said, "Bing Yi can't stay unconscious forever. I'll go find a godly doctor." "It's no use." Yi Hao stopped Wu Wenyang, who was about to leave, and said, "No matter how powerful the godly doctor is, it's useless. We can only find someone with a higher cultivation level than Bing Yi to help her clear the chaotic spiritual energy in her body. But where are we going to find such a person? There's no need to. I'm afraid there's no such person in the entire Qingshan Empire." "What did you say?" "Bing Yi doesn't have any spiritual energy. Why is her cultivation level so terrifying?" Wu Wenyang was completely stunned. Yi Hao tried to channel his spiritual energy again, but it was rejected as soon as it entered Bing Yi's body. However, he also managed to sense the rich spiritual energy in Bing Yi's body. If they were to compare their spiritual energy, Yi Hao's spiritual energy would be like a small pond, while Bing Yi's spiritual energy would be like an ocean. The difference was that big. That was why Yi Hao said there was no one with a stronger spiritual energy than Bing Yi in the entire Qingshan Empire. Wu Wenyang listened to Yi Hao's explanation and fell into deep thought. Then he asked, "Then what should we do now?" Yi Hao sighed and said helplessly, "We can only wait for the spiritual energy in Bing Yi's body to return to its original position." Green Fallen Peak, Celestial Cloud Pavilion. Yuan Shu listened carefully to Banished Deity's description. He looked calm on the surface, but in reality, his heart was in turmoil. "Is what you said true?" Banished Deity hurriedly lowered his head and said, "Everything I said is true. That 8th level spirit Emperor Lin Lin couldn't resist at all in the hands of that girl and was killed directly. Interesting. Yuan Shu stared out of the window and muttered, I didn't expect Yi Hao to have such an expert by his side. What about Yi Hao's strength? Banished Immortal replied. He's definitely at the 5th level of the Spirit Emperor realm. He fought with Lin Lin for hundreds of rounds, and his life was hanging by a thread several times. The strength he showed is definitely at the 5th level of the Spirit Emperor realm. It doesn't seem like he's hiding anything. Looks like he's not hiding his strength. Young master, what should we do next? Yuan Shu murmured. Even Lin Lin, a level 8 Spirit Emperor, was unable to resist. That mysterious woman must be at least a Spirit Emperor. This is indeed a hidden danger. It seems that we must find out more about that woman. Otherwise, it will be difficult to carry out our plan. Young master, what do you mean? Ing Yi. As soon as Yuan Shu finished speaking, a tall man wearing a bamboo hat and black clothes appeared from the corner of the room. The man stood quietly beside Yuan Shu without saying a word. You heard what I said just now. Then, Yuan Shu said, This woman is not an ordinary person. Go personally. You must find out the depths of this woman. Do you want her dead or alive? The bamboo hat man called Ing Yi spoke for the first time, but his voice was abnormally hoarse. Living people are more beneficial to us. Then, Ing Yi disappeared into the darkness. On the other side, Yuan Mu also received news about Bing Yi. At this moment, his expression was very serious. He looked at the bronze masked man kneeling on the side and asked, Are you sure that woman only used one move to instantly kill Lin Lin? Yes. The man recalled, at the time, that group of people was also there. I didn't get too close, but I could still feel Lin Lin's aura disappear in an instant. It was as if he had evaporated into thin air. It was as if such a person had never existed in this world. Hearing the man's description, Yuan Mu's brows furrowed even tighter. He muttered to himself, According to your description, this person is definitely not from the ancient demon realm. It seems that the Qingshan Imperial City is becoming more and more restless recently. Then what should we do? Yuan Mu picked up a brush and wrote the word wait on a piece of paper. He said in a low voice, Do nothing. Just watch quietly. We won't get involved in this mess. Yes. The moon was bright and the stars were sparse. It was late at night. Yi Hao sensed the spirit energy in Bing Yi's body again. His sad face finally showed a trace of smile. Wu Wenyong couldn't wait to ask, How is Bing Yi now? Yi Hao exhaled and sat on the ground. Bing Yi's condition is much better now. The spirit energy in her body is not so chaotic. She should be fine after resting for a night. Wu Wenyong looked at Bing Yi's relaxed forehead and let out a sigh of relief. Okay, go back and rest. I'll take care of her here. Okay. Then, only the unconscious Bing Yi and the exhausted Yi Hao were left in the room. Not long after, the sound of partridges came from outside the room. Yi Hao heard this sound and became alert. He looked at the sleeping Bing Yi and tiptoed out. Yi Hao, who was standing at the door, listened to the sound of the partridges. After identifying the direction, he returned to his room. Then, a figure in night clothes jumped down from the window of the room and came to an alley not far from the inn. The figure in night clothes saw Zhou Tong, who was holding the flowing green spear in the deepest part of the alley. Yi Hao looked behind him and saw that no one was following him. He went to Zhou Tong and asked, How is it? How's the investigation of Lin Lin? Xiao Di, I went to investigate Lin Lin's whereabouts today. I found that he went straight from the Qingju building to the inn. His purpose is very clear. Sure enough, someone leaked my whereabouts. Who is this person? I don't know who it is yet. Zhou Tong paused and then said, However, I heard that the young master of the Yu family, Yu Sanjiang, appeared at the Qingju building in the afternoon. Yu Sanjiang? Yi Hao thought carefully. Yu Sanjiang is from the Yu family, and the Yu family is backed by the Yuan family. So, Yuan Shu is worried about me and wants to test me? According to my inference, that is indeed the case. Yi Hao couldn't help but feel strange. He then asked, I've been very curious. I hid my identity very well along the way. How did Yuan Shu know that Yi Hao is Yi Sangao? And how did he know where I was staying? Zhou Tong had been in the imperial city of Qingshan Imperial City for a while and heard a lot about the Yuan family. He said, "Xiao Di, you don't know? The reason why the Yuan family can dominate the 7 major families is that they have a powerful divine weapon, the Fairy Cloud Pavilion. Colon. Chapter 1463. In the beginning, the Yuan clan was inconspicuous among the 7 great clans. It was only in the hands of the 23rd generation of the Yuan clan that they began to be valued. This clan had only did one thing to bring the Yuan clan to greater heights, and that was to establish the Immortal Cloud Pavilion. At that time, the Yuan clan had ignored the opposition of the clan and spent a huge sum of money to establish the Immortal Cloud Pavilion. In the beginning, the Immortal Cloud Pavilion was used to protect the Yuan clan. It could be said that it was just a protective talisman. However, in the later development, it slowly changed. The Yuan clan slowly cultivated the Immortal Cloud Pavilion into a monster that could gather intelligence and assassinate. The Immortal Cloud Pavilion now had 2 departments. One was the Dark Department, which was mainly responsible for gathering intelligence, spying, and guarding the pavilion. The other department was the Shadow Department, which was mainly responsible for assassinations and missions. The Yuan clan controlled the strongest intelligence and assassination forces in the entire Green Mountain Empire. Who would not be afraid? It was not an exaggeration to say that the movements of the entire Green Mountain Empire could not be hidden from the Yuan clan. Even the Yuan clan head, who was also the pavilion master of the Immortal Cloud Pavilion, knew about the few concubines of the Green Mountain Emperor. What was more terrifying was that not only did they know about you, they could also send people to assassinate you at any time. It was like a huge knife hanging over everyone's head, as if it could fall at any time and take away someone's life. After listening to Zhou Tong's explanation, Yi Hao's expression turned serious. At first, he thought that the Yuan clan was just an ordinary clan. However, the more he understood, the more he realized that the Yuan clan was not only a huge clan, but also a huge clan that was very difficult to deal with. So, you have to be careful when you ask me to come out, because there are people from the Dark Department watching us. That's right. Zhou Tong's expression was also not relaxed. He said, "But young Emperor, you don't have to worry. Yuan Shu has no evil intentions for now. Otherwise, the people guarding the entrance of the inn would not be from the Dark Department, but from a Shadow Department." Yi Hao still found it hard to understand. He said strangely, "I still don't understand. Yuan Shu used the entire Tianyuan Empire to threaten me to submit to him. Logically speaking, he should want to kill me immediately after I took the 10,000-year snow spirit grass and my Dao sword that originally belonged to him. But now, he actually wants to help me win the championship in the Heavenly Street meeting. It's really hard to understand." Zhou Tong was also unable to understand. Yi Hao shook his head and said, "Looks like we can only take one step at a time." Following that, Yi Hao handed Zhou Tong an interspatial ring. After Zhou Tong took a closer look, he was shocked. The interspatial ring was filled with pills that were shining with golden light. Yi Hao said indifferently, "These are some perfect 4th grade pills. They can help you increase your cultivation in a short period of time. However, you must be careful when using them. Don't take them blindly." "Understood. Also, if I don't take the initiative to look for you during this period of time, don't come looking for me. You're the only power I can use here." "Yes, don't worry, young Emperor." Just as Zhou Tong was about to leave, Yi Hao suddenly felt a black figure flash past the side of the street, rushing towards the inn he was staying at. "No, I have to go back and take a look. You go back first." After that, Yi Hao bid farewell to Zhou Tong and went straight to the inn. After the black figure came to the roof of the inn, he was not in a hurry to take action. Instead, he first observed the location of the inn and then went straight to a room on the 2nd floor. Yi Hao followed behind the black figure. His pupils constricted because that room was the room where Bing Yi was. Yi Hao's heart was in his mouth. He hurriedly rushed in the same direction. However, before he could take action, the black figure actually returned to the roof. Yi Hao also quietly hid behind the eaves. The black figure came to the roof and looked coldly at the swordsman in blue who forced him out of the room. The swordsman had a sword at his waist and his hands behind his back. He smiled and said, "Yuan clan, Celestial Cloud Pavilion, the #1 assassin of the Shadow Department. Ing Yi, right?" Ing Yi was suddenly stunned. He asked in a hoarse voice, "How did you know it was me?" The swordsman smiled and said, "I just said it casually. I didn't expect it to really be you." You. Ing Yi, who was fooled by the swordsman, was very angry. He tiptoed and directly attacked the swordsman in blue. Yi Hao, who was behind the eaves, heard the conversation between the two. He was furious. What does Yuan Shu mean? He just tested me during the day, and now he wants to attack Bing Yi at night. This is ridiculous. Does he really think that I, Yi Hao, am easy to bully? The swordsman in blue was calm in the face of Ing Yi's aggressive attack. Although Ing Yi's attack was very fast, he couldn't even touch the swordsman in blue's clothes. Ing Yi roared and waved his right hand angrily. A few flying swords with cold light went straight to the swordsman in blue's face. The swordsman smiled indifferently and pointed his sword to the left and right a few times. Those flying swords fell straight on the roof of the inn. Then the blue-clothed swordsman gently pointed his foot on Ing Yi's chest. Ing Yi felt as if he had been hit by a heavy blow, and his whole person quickly retreated. The battle between the two was very fierce, but they were able to keep silent. This was very scary. If it wasn't for Yi Hao's timely detection, he might not have noticed the two of them. Yi Hao didn't see how the swordsman in blue attacked at all. He murmured, "This guy is too strong. This sword has such power. It seems that this person is here to protect Bing Yi, not an enemy." Ing Yi, who finally stopped himself, covered his chest and coughed violently. Then, he looked at the swordsman in blue with fear and asked, "Who are you?" The swordsman in blue laughed loudly. "The half-step spirit monarch of your ancient demon realm is only SOSO. Ancient demon realm. Half-step spirit monarch." Ing Yi and Yi Hao were shocked at almost the same time, although it wasn't for the same reason. Ing Yi looked at him with fear and asked, You are not from the ancient demon realm?" "That's right." The blue-clothed swordsman put away his playful expression and said seriously, "Bing Yi will not participate in the private matters between the Yuan family and that kid. However, you should not send people to mess with him. If there's a next time, I will make sure that the entire Yuan family dies without a burial place." The swordsman in blue's voice wasn't loud, but it was clearly heard by Ing Yi. "Get out of here." Ing Yi was stunned and then ran away from the inn in embarrassment. The swordsman in blue didn't leave the roof. He said to the air, "Are you still not going to come out? You have been watching the show for half a day." Yi Hao was shocked, but then he felt relieved. He rubbed his head and walked out with a smile on his face. The swordsman in blue saw Yi Hao's red eyes and became absent-minded. Chapter 1464. At that time, at the Earth Lung mountain range, Lining wanted to use the hero to save the damsel in distress to capture Yi Hao. Therefore, he sent Yi Hao and Hong Yan away and set up a large group of assassins to ambush him and Hong Yan by the river. But in the end, those people all died silently, and their throats were all slit. Yi Hao was depressed at that time. How did those people die silently? Now, it seemed that with the powerful strength of the blue-clothed swordsman and the sword at his waist, it was completely possible. After all, even a half-step spirit monarch assassin couldn't last more than one round in his hands. Earth Lung Mountain Range. Assassin? What assassin? The blue-clothed swordsman came back to his senses and looked at him in confusion. Is it not you?" Yi Hao was even more confused and said, "Is it someone else?" The blue-clothed swordsman sat on the roof and looked at the waning moon in the sky. He said, "I have never been to the Earth Lung mountain range, and my main target is Bing Yi. If it wasn't for the attack tonight, you wouldn't be able to see me now." Yi Hao put away his doubts and sat beside the swordsman. He asked seriously, "Bing Yi, who is it? Her? She might be someone you can't touch for the rest of your life." The blue-clothed swordsman looked at the stunned Yi Hao and explained, "You heard it just now. I am not from the ancient demon region. Naturally, Bing Yi is not either. You are from the ancient desolate world?" Yi Hao's eyes flickered as he spoke his guess. The blue-clothed swordsman was surprised and said, "You know about the ancient desolate world? Seems like you're indeed from the ancient desolate world." To be honest, he had never heard of this ancient desolate world before. It was Bing Yi who accidentally said it. Bing Yi didn't continue, so he didn't continue asking. The blue-clothed swordsman suddenly asked an unimportant question. "You like Bing Yi, don't you?" Yi Hao was stunned. What did this have to do with anything? The blue-clothed swordsman stood up and stretched out his arms. He muttered, "Cherish the remaining days. Soon, someone will bring Bing Yi home." Back to the ancient desolate world? Yes. Can we not go? Yes. Yi Hao's face lit up. To be honest, he felt a sense of loss when Bing Yi left. Unless you can defeat those people who come to pick her up. Then, Yi Hao's expression darkened again. How strong are those people? The blue-clothed swordsman yawned and said sleepily, "I don't know. We will know when the day comes." Yi Hao looked at the indistinct back of the blue-clothed swordsman and clenched his fists. His dim eyes burned with a blazing flame. Bing Yi, Indeed, Bing Yi didn't have any spiritual power in the beginning, and she didn't know where her home was. However, ever since she crushed the jade pendant, her cultivation and her messy memories came back to her. She looked at Yi Hao. He was sound asleep. She smiled. She couldn't help but touch Yi Hao's scarred face. Yi Hao was shocked. He looked at Bing Yi. His eyes were red. "You're awake." "Yes. It's good that you're fine. You didn't eat anything last night. You must be hungry. I'll go to the kitchen to get you something to eat." Yi Hao was about to step out of the room when Bing Yi stopped him. "Sangao, I'm not from here." Yi Hao turned around and smiled at her. "I don't care where you're from. I only know that you're called Bing Yi. That's enough." Bing Yi said, "Sangao, do you know? I'm leaving." Yi Hao wasn't as shocked as Bing Yi imagined. He smiled and said, "I know. Someone will come to pick you up soon. Before that, I'll take good care of you." Yi Hao didn't give Bing Yi a chance to speak. He rushed out the door. Bing Yi looked at the empty door. Her palm was cold. He lowered his head and saw that a drop of tear had unknowingly flowed onto his palm. In the kitchen, Yi Hao looked at the direction of the sunrise calmly. 2 lines of tears hung from his moist eyes. Celestial Cloud Pavilion. Yuan Shu stared at Ying Yi with a serious expression. Ying Yi didn't hide anything. He told Yuan Shu everything that happened last night. Yuan Shu's face was gloomy. He sneered. "He's not from the ancient demon realm. I think he's from the chaos realm." Banished Immortal stood at the side and said in horror, "Young master, we can't afford to offend people from the chaos realm. Let's not bother about that girl. She won't be an obstacle to our plan. What do you think?" Yuan Shu looked at Ying Yi with a gloomy expression. Ying Yi didn't look at him. He looked at the ground and said, "That person said that as long as we don't provoke that girl, he won't find trouble with us." Yuan Shu placed his hands on the table and said in a deep voice, "Okay, then let that girl go. Follow the original plan. Go home and prepare yourselves." "Yes." After the 2 left, Yuan Shu smashed the table that was made of good wood. He said viciously, "The people from the chaos realm are really impressive. But when my plan succeeds, it won't be long before I can lead the entire Green Mountain Empire to the chaos realm." There were still 3 days until the registration date for the Sky Street Convention. During these 3 days, Wu Wenyong had been trying to persuade Bing Yi to sign up. He said that with Bing Yi's power, as long as he participated, he would be able to get first place. Then, Yi Sangao wouldn't be able to do anything. But before Bing Yi could say anything, Yi Hao rejected him. Bing Yi's identity was special. Naturally, he couldn't participate in such a competition. Plus, with Bing Yi's current level, he didn't care about the standards of the Sky Street Convention. 3 days passed in a flash. On this day, Wu Wenyong and Bing Yi followed Yi Hao to the Sky Street Convention sub-venue in the Green Mountain District. As a contestant, Yi Hao stood in the contestant area. Wu Wenyong and Bing Yi who were spectators, naturally went to the spectator area. The competition venue in the Green Mountain District was a huge oval. The middle area was used for the competition. The area on the side was for the spectators. The design of the entire venue was a bit like a football field. In the middle of the open space, there was an old man with a walking stick. He looked at the enthusiastic spectators and said loudly, "Welcome to the Sky Street Convention sub-venue in the Green Mountain District. First, let me announce the competition rules. This Sky Street Convention has 6 sub-venues and 1 main venue. The entire competition is divided into 3 segments. The first segment will be held in the 6 sub-venues. The next 2 segments will be held in the main venue. The first segment's rules are very simple. It is to choose 4 winners from the 1356 contestants in the Green Mountain District sub-venue to participate in the next 2 rounds. After that, everyone was in an uproar. The competition was too big. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that it was 1 in 1,000. Chapter 1465. Quiet, quiet. The old man knocked on the ground with his walking stick, and the noisy crowd instantly quieted down. The old man took out a black ball and gently threw it into the air. Then, a pitch-black door appeared. The old man pointed at the pitch-black door and said, "This door is a spirit formation door. The world behind the door is a world where demonic beasts run rampant. In that world, the flow of time is different from here. 10 days there is equivalent to 1 day here. It is a good place for cultivators to improve their strength. For this Heavenly Street meeting, the Yuan family specially contributed this world of demonic beasts as the standard for the first round of selection. Everyone who participates in this Heavenly Street meeting will have a token in their hands when they enter. Killing demonic beasts and cultivators can increase the number of tokens in their hands. After 10 days, the 4 people who have the most tokens in their hands will be able to advance." Someone in the contestant seating area asked, "Then, do we have to kill a cultivator to get the token?" The old man shook his head and said no. As long as that cultivator is willing to hand over the token in his hand, he will be automatically sent back to the competition venue. It also means that he has forfeited and lost the qualification to participate in this competition. Then, someone asked, "There are 6 venues. Does each venue have the same world of demonic beasts or different ones?" The old man stroked his beard and explained, "In order to avoid the elite cultivators of each venue from colliding too early, the Yuan family contributed 6 different worlds of demonic beasts. So, you're not the same, but different. So, you don't have to worry about meeting people from other venues." Then, everyone asked some more questions, and the old man answered them one by one. Finally, the old man looked at the quiet venue and said in a deep voice, "Do you have any more questions? If not, the competition will officially begin." Then, everyone passed through the spirit formation door one by one. Before leaving, Yihao looked back in the direction of the audience. There, 2 people were waving their arms and cheering for him. So, in this round, he had to advance. He couldn't lose. Yihao looked at the pitch-black spirit formation door and suddenly felt dizzy. Then he saw a huge monster sleeping underground. He shook his head and didn't notice anything abnormal. Then he entered the spirit formation door. Soon, only the old man was left in the center of the arena. The old man waved his arm, and the barrier gate turned into a black ball and was put into his sleeve. He then stomped his foot, and then 4 huge screens appeared in the center of the field. The screens were playing the scene after everyone entered World of Warcraft. Yihao felt dizzy. When he opened his eyes, he found himself standing beside a river. Immediately after, he heard the old man's voice in his ear. "Each of you will be teleported to a random location. After 10 days, I will summon you back again. During this period, whether you live or die is up to fate. Lads, I wish you good luck." Yihao looked at the clear river and murmured, "Is it starting now?" Bang, bang. Not far away, the sound of an intense battle could be heard. Yihao's heart skipped a beat, and he headed straight for the source of the sound. Before he even got close, he saw 2 thin men attacking a flood dragon in the river with all their might. Yihao carefully sensed the aura of the 2 men. They were at the 6th level of the spiritual emperor realm. Their strength was not very strong. Then he looked at the flood dragon. It was at the 7th level of the spiritual emperor realm. He couldn't help but be surprised. My goodness, what the hell is this place? Why is there a flood dragon in a small river? And the strength of the flood dragon is at the 7th level of the spiritual emperor realm. At this moment, the flood dragon and the two men were fighting fiercely. They didn't notice that a fisherman was standing on a tree not far away from them, ready to reap the benefits. About an hour later, the two men finally defeated the flood dragon, which was slightly stronger than them. Just as they were about to kill the flood dragon, the huge flood dragon suddenly fell to the ground and landed heavily on the shore. Then a mechanical voice sounded in their minds. Yi Sangao killed the 7th level flood dragon. Reward, 20,000 battle tokens. Hearing this, the two men were stunned. Who was Yi Sangao? Shouldn't they be the ones who killed the flood dragon? Yi Hao slowly took back his flying sword and came directly behind the two men. He stretched out his hand and looked at them with a smile. The two men thought about what had just happened and instantly understood. You are Yi Sangao. You are the one who stole our flood dragon. Yi Hao nodded slightly. Brat, how dare you steal our things? You are so reckless. You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Go to hell. The two men were furious. They raised their weapons and attacked Yi Hao. Yi Hao didn't dodge. Instead, he pushed out his palm, and the two men fell to the ground. Yi Hao came in front of them. When he raised his palm and was about to push out again, the two men fell to their knees and handed over the battle tokens in their arms. Yi Hao took the battle tokens with a smile and put them into his interspatial ring. At this time, the flood dragon lying on the shore turned into a ball of spiritual energy and disappeared. The two men who were eliminated by Yi Hao went directly to the center of the field when the battle tokens were taken away. As a result, they were laughed at by the crowd. The two men quickly got up and left with their faces covered in dirt. Wu Wenyong looked at the two men, leaving in embarrassment and the scene of Yi Hao taking the battle tokens, and couldn't help but laugh. Bing Yi frowned because there was a ranking list on the big screen. The first place was Yi Sangao, who had 10,002 battle tokens. If it was just the rankings, it wouldn't be particularly worrying. The key was that as long as it was someone in the top 10, their strength and geographical location would be marked on the map. Everyone could plan according to that person's location to pursue and kill them. Yi Hao looked at a big red dot on the map and couldn't help but be confused. When they were talking about the rules just now, they didn't mention this. Outside the field, the old man slapped his forehead and said, "Oh, I forgot. I'll add it now." Yi Hao wanted to cry, but had no tears. Because he had the most battle tokens now, his red dot on the map was the biggest and the location was the most obvious. Moreover, he was marked as a 5th level spirit emperor on the ranking list. In the eyes of everyone, he was a big fat sheep. Therefore, he believed that many people were already rushing here, ready to kill him. Therefore, he quickly left the shore and moved to another place. At this time, in the bamboo forest of the Yu residence, Banished Immortal looked at the scene of Yi Hao running away with great interest. He couldn't help but laugh out loud. Yu Yingwan frowned and asked, "Isn't it bad to change the rules like this?" Banished Immortal sneered and said, "The rules are set by us. Naturally, we can change it if we want to. Besides, don't you think it's very interesting? Ha ha ha." Chapter 1466. The corner of Yu Yingwan's mouth twitched, but he did not find it amusing at all. This was because his only son, Yu Sanjiang, was also being hunted down. He was the second red dot on the map, second only to Yi Sanjiang. When Yi Hao was rushing forward, a thick tree in front of him suddenly collapsed, directly blocking his path. Yi Hao lightly jumped, but just as he was about to jump over, 4 burly men rushed out from the side. The 4 men held different weapons and smashed towards Yi Hao's head at the same time. Yi Hao's eyes narrowed, and a spirit stone with a spiritual array engraved on it was directly thrown into the ground by him. Boom! The ground rumbled, and a huge array soared into the sky. The 4 men who jumped up were directly bound in the air by this sudden array. Yi Hao did not even look at them as he whistled past them. It was not that he did not want to snatch the battle tokens of these 4 men, but he really did not have the time because there was a large group of people following behind him. Just as Yi Hao left, a group of people rushed over. These people looked at the 4 burly men who were bound in the air and revealed a sinister smile. Immediately, Yi Hao heard miserable curses coming from behind him. Yi Hao sighed weakly. In just half a day, he had already encountered 36 rounds of assassination attempts. He took out his battle token and looked at the ranking list on it. He had already dropped from 1st place to 10th place. Even so, this group of people was still unwilling to let him go. There was no other way. Who asked him to be the weakest among the 10 men, the 5th-level spirit emperor? He could not blame them for picking up a soft persimmon to bully. Yi Hao shook off the people behind him and ran into a dense forest. Just as he sat down and panted heavily, a figure appeared behind him. Yi Hao was startled. Just as he was about to make a move, the figure hurriedly waved at him. "Brother Yi, it's me. Yu Sanjiang. Don't you remember me?" "It's you?" Yi Hao recognized the figure that was tailing him. He asked cautiously, "Are you also here to snatch my battle token?" Yu Sanjiang hurriedly explained, "Brother Yi, you've misunderstood. I don't want a battle token right now." "Oh, really?" "Of course, I was ranked 2nd in the beginning, and the number of assassinations I encountered was only a little less than yours." Yi Hao let his guard down and collapsed on the ground. Yu Sanjiang also took the opportunity to sit down beside Yi Hao and said, "Actually, I came here for another matter." "What is it?" "Mr. Shu asked me to give you something." "What is it?" Yi Hao looked at Yu Sanjiang's mysterious appearance and couldn't help but ask curiously. Yu Sanjiang looked around. After confirming that there was no one around, he took out a Buddha-shaped jade stone and handed it to Yi Hao. He whispered, "Mr. Shu asked me to give you this Buddha-shaped jade stone." Yi Hao took it. With the jade stone in his hand, he felt that the spiritual qi of heaven and earth around him seemed to be absorbed faster. Yu Sanjiang leaned over and whispered, "After the magical beasts in this world of Warcraft die, they turn into a cloud of spiritual qi and disappear for some reason. This jade stone can help us absorb the spiritual qi after the magical beasts die. Although it can't absorb all of it, it can absorb 30% of it. This can help us improve our cultivation." Yi Hao was surprised. No wonder he felt this way when he held it in his hand. He then asked, "You have one too?" Yu Sanjiang showed a proud expression and said, "Of course. I am Mr. Shu's confidant." Yu Sanjiang showed the jade pendant to Yi Hao and said, "Mr. Shu also asked me to pass a message to you. He said that he could help you win the Heavenly Street Convention. It wasn't just empty words. You should stay in this world of Warcraft and absorb the spiritual qi to strengthen yourself and lay down your foundation. Thank Mr. Shu for me." Yi Hao took the jade pendant, but he was doubtful. "Is this Yuan Shu really so kind to help me improve my strength?" "Jade Buddha stone." Suddenly, a familiar voice sounded in Yi Hao's mind. Yi Hao was delighted, but he didn't show it. He asked quietly, "System, do you know this thing?" "Didn't I tell you? I have a name. Call me Xiaobao." The system was silent for a moment, then said, "This thing is indeed a jade Buddha stone. Wearing it for a long time can help improve the perception and absorption of the spiritual qi of heaven and earth around you." Could it be that this Yuan Shu really wants to help me? Yi Hao was surprised. However, this jade Buddha stone is different from other jade Buddha stones. There is a problem. The system's following words made Yi Hao feel relieved. He knew that this Yuan Shu didn't have good intentions. If he was really willing to help, Yi Hao wouldn't dare to use him. Yi Hao asked calmly, "What's the problem?" "You guys go over there and take a look. The map shows that the kid hasn't moved in the vicinity. Everyone, search carefully. Yes, that kid can't have gone far. When we find him and kill him, we'll divide his battle token." At this moment, a clamor came from not far behind Yi Hao. Yi Hao and Yu Sanjiang's expressions turned ugly. Yu Sanjiang looked at the ranking list and said, "Brother Yi, you're already 10th. Why are these people still unwilling to let you go?" "Sigh. They think I'm a fat sheep waiting to be slaughtered." Yi Hao put away the jade Buddha stone and stopped talking to the system. He stared at the approaching crowd and thought about what to do. Why is 11th place so slow? It's been so long and they still haven't pushed you down. I'm also puzzled. Yi Hao flicked his sleeves and 10 flying swords flew out of his sleeves. If these people really attack together, I'm afraid both of us will die here. Yes, what should we do? Yi Hao's ring trembled slightly. Behind him, dozens of spirit stones with spirit arrays carved on them floated quietly. If there's no other way, we can only fight them. Brother Yu is right. Yi Hao placed his right hand on his left hand. The Crimson Wu Dao sword was already thirsting for blood. One of them was slowly approaching Yi Hao's position. The two of them held their breaths and prepared to attack. Just as that person was about to get closer, he suddenly exclaimed, "Hey, that kid's position disappeared." Everyone was shocked. They looked at the ranking list and saw that Yi Hao was no longer in the top 10. Damn it, we lost that kid's position. Yes, it'll be difficult to find him like this. Forget it. Let's let that kid escape. Let's go. Immediately after, the crowd dispersed. The two people hiding behind the tree also let out a sigh of relief. They sat on the ground and smiled at each other. At this moment, Yu Sanjiang's eyes moved slightly. He approached and said, "Brother Yi, are you interested in doing a big business?" Chapter 1467. Yi Hao's eyes lit up as he stared at Yu Sanjiang and asked, "What's the big deal?" Yu Sanjiang chuckled and said, "Brother Yi, I heard a big piece of news. The top 3 people on the ranking list are going to join forces and go to a cave to kill a 9th-level Spirit Emperor magical beast. They will split the battle order equally. How about it? Are you interested?" Battle order? Yi Hao's eyes lit up and asked, "Are you serious?" "Of course." Yu Sanjiang looked at the top 3 names on the ranking list and said, "The top 3 people on the ranking list are all from the Qingshan Imperial City. They are all 8th-level Spirit Embers. It's not a problem for the 3 of them to join forces to kill a 9th-level Spirit Emperor magical beast. The key is who will be the one to kill the magical beast. After all, whoever kills the magical beast will have the battle order." "You mean we should join the fun and kill the magical beast before they do?" "Why not? Aren't you the best at this kind of thing?" Yi Hao was speechless for a moment and then asked, "Where did you get this news?" "Brother Yi, I paid a big price to get this news from others." Yu Sanjiang opened the map and pointed at the 3 red dots that were gathered together. "Look, these 3 people have already gathered together. Surprisingly, the 3 of them aren't fighting. Not only that, they're heading toward a cave. That's the habitat of a Class 9 magical beast." Yi Hao looked at the map and kept sizing it up. "Brother Yi, what are you waiting for? Fortune comes from danger. If we are late, others will get it first." Yu Sanjiang's tone was a little anxious. Yi Hao clapped his hands and said, "You are right. Fortune comes from danger. Let's go." "That's great." The two of them hit it off and started to move towards the unknown cave. Outside the arena, Bing Yi was sitting in the audience seat. She suddenly felt something and looked towards the sky in the west. Wu Wenyong noticed Bing Yi's abnormality and asked, "Bing Yi, what's wrong?" Bing Yi didn't answer. Wu Wenyong followed Bing Yi's gaze and looked towards the west. He saw a few red light pillars rising into the sky and slowly moving towards them. "It's just a few light pillars. Maybe there are people fighting again." "It's nothing." Bing Yi didn't say anything. She looked away and said sadly, "They are coming." Wu Wenyong didn't understand, and Bing Yi didn't explain. The two of them looked at the screen in the middle of the arena again. On the way, Yi Hao played with the Jade Buddha Stone and asked, "System, you said there's something wrong with this Jade Buddha Stone. What is it?" It was rare for the system to not emphasize the fact that it had a name. Instead, it solemnly said, "That's right. There's indeed something wrong with this Jade Buddha Stone. Ordinary Jade Buddha Stones can indeed help a person absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth faster. However, this one is too strange. It can actually absorb 30% of the spiritual energy of a dead magical beast to nourish one's body. What is it?" Hearing this, Yi Hao calmly put away the jade Buddha stone and put away the smile on his face. Heart Goose Stone. What is a Heart Goose Stone? The Gu Heart Stone is a divine stone that can confuse a person's mind. Those who wear it for a long time can easily be bewitched by the Gu Heart Stone and lose their original consciousness. They will become a walking corpse with a pale face and empty eyes. Their every action will only listen to the person who has the Gu Heart Stone. When Yi Hao heard the system's description, he remembered the two people who had fought for the 1,000-mountain snow lotus in the empire of Shuiyu. Those two people's symptoms were very similar to what the system had just described. What is a Heart Goose Stone? If I'm not wrong, you and that brat have a son's Gu Heart Stone, while someone else has a grandmother's Gu Heart Stone. Once the two of you are completely bewitched by this Gu Heart Stone, you will become that person's slaves and become walking corpses. The system's voice was no longer as mechanical, and there was a rare trace of seriousness. Yi Hao smiled coldly and said he hid the Heart Goose Stone in the Jade Buddha Stone and wanted to use it to control me. Yuan Shu is really scheming. I'll just throw the Jade Buddha Stone away. On second thought, if he just threw it away, wouldn't Yuan Shu know that he had seen through his plan? If that happened, the two of them would fall out. He wasn't afraid of himself, but he was afraid that Yuan Shu would threaten him with the Tian Yuan Empire. System, is there a way to break the Heart Goose Stone? There is. Can't you just throw it away? I can't throw it away now. Is there any other way? The system pondered for a while and said, not at the moment, but I have a mind-cleansing incantation here. It can help you temporarily not be bewitched by the Heart Goose Stone. It's better than nothing. Give it to me. Then, a string of complicated words appeared in Yi Hao's mind. Repeat this mind-cleansing incantation once in the morning, noon, and night. It can help you temporarily not be bewitched. Okay, and so, Yi Hao enjoyed the benefits of the Jade Buddha Stone while also enjoying the torture of the Heart Goose Stone. Only 2 hours had passed in the outside world, but a day had passed in the world of Warcraft. After a night of hurrying, Yi Hao and Yu Sanjiang arrived at the entrance of the cave. Yu Sanjiang looked at the map and said, yes, it's here. The top 3 guys on the leaderboard are also here. Yi Hao stretched and said, we're finally here. What do we do next? The corners of Yu Sanjiang's mouth curled up, revealing a faint smile. Yu Sanjiang wanted to keep them in suspense and refused to talk about his plan in detail. Yi Hao stopped asking and went behind a huge rock with Yu Sanjiang, waiting for time to pass. Half a day passed unknowingly. Yi Hao, who was cultivating, suddenly heard a noise. He opened his eyes and found that a large group of people had gathered at the entrance of the cave. These people had different cultivations. Some of them were at the 7th level of the spiritual emperor realm, while some of them were at the 5th level like Yi Hao. Yi Hao looked at the crowd and asked, is this your plan? Follow this large group of people and fish in troubled waters? Yes, the top 3 on the leaderboard are not to be trifled with. If the 2 of us go in, I'm afraid we won't be able to get anything. If we follow them in, our chances of success will be higher. After saying that, Yu Sanjiang and Yi Hao mixed into the crowd. Gradually, the group grew from 80 people to 180 people. Even so, they still had no intention of going in, until 2 more people came. One of them had a saber and the other a sword, and their cultivations were at the 8th level of the spiritual emperor realm. Seeing them come, the crowd quickly made way and greeted them warmly. Hello, Master Yin. Hello, Master Li. The 2 ignored the crowd and walked directly into the cave. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.